Hello everyone. Omni-sensei here with What If I Was Reborn as Black Adam? Part 2. If you enjoy this content, smash the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to check out the original story linked in the description.
The ground quaked beneath their feet as Giganta took another step forward. Her boots crushed asphalt and sent debris flying into nearby burning cars and ruined walls. Sirens wailed in the distance. The city was already bleeding. Cyclone turned to Superman, worry in her voice. "Clark, you're hurt. You need to get up high and heal. Let the sun do the work." Diana said she can hold them off until backup gets here. Superman shook his head, his jaw clenched. He winced as he stood straighter. His hand pressed against his side where Metallo's blast had scorched through his suit. "If they are targeting me," he said through gritted teeth, "then they have more than just brute force. There could be snipers in the air or other metahumans positioned above the city. I go up there, and I might be giving them exactly what they want." Cyclone's brow furrowed. Her voice softened. "But you're not even at 50%. One more direct hit, and—" "Maxine," he interrupted, but not unkindly. "The best thing you can do now is help the people. Get the civilians out. Evacuate the area. If they can't hurt me directly, they'll take hostages or cause more chaos. We can't let that happen." Cyclone hesitated. A gust of wind swirled around her as her hands flexed with uncertainty. Then she gave a firm nod and shot into the air, trailing green and silver ribbons of wind behind her as she flew toward the denser parts of downtown. Superman turned his eyes to the battlefield. Metallo was recharging, his chest core humming louder with each second. Banshee was on her feet again, already gathering another scream in her throat. And Giganta stood tall, looming over them all, her fists clenched and ready. She grinned when she saw Superman still standing. Her voice echoed across the block. "I thought you'd be gone by now, Boy Scout. Guess I'll just squish you myself." He raised one foot and slammed it down toward him with a mocking laugh. But she didn't reach him. Wonder Woman flew between them, shield raised, her sword gleaming in the rain. She caught Giganta's giant fist mid-strike, and the impact sent a shockwave across the block. The ground cracked beneath her feet as she held her position. "You will not touch him," Diana said with an angry expression. Giganta sneered and pulled back, only to swing again. Diana met the blow with her shield, pushing up with both arms. The two forces collided like titans, steel against strength. "Superman," Diana said without turning her head, "stay clear. You're their target. You're not helping anyone if they break you in half." He started to protest, but she cut him off sharply. "Let me handle them. Until the League gets here, I can keep them at bay." Superman clenched his fists, every instinct telling him to stay and fight, but he knew she was right. Every second he stayed increased the risk, not just for him but for everyone caught in the crossfire. He gave her a nod, even as frustration burned in his eyes, and started walking away from the area. Giganta swung again, this time with her other hand. Diana soared higher, flipped in midair, and brought her sword down onto Giganta's wrist. Sparks flew from the enchanted blade, and Giganta howled, pulling back her arm. It didn't even hurt her, but the sting made her flinch. "You're going to regret that, Princess." "No," Diana said, settling in for the next strike. "You're going to regret threatening my people." The air was thick with smoke and the acrid stench of scorched metal. Flames flickered from the wrecks of overturned cars. Chunks of pavement and shattered concrete littered the street. What had once been a bustling downtown block was now reduced to a flattened battlefield. Cyclone flew above the destruction, her arms sweeping in elegant arcs. Wind obeyed her every motion, lifting dust and smoke away from the retreating crowd. She used controlled gusts to carry the wounded, guiding clusters of civilians through the broken streets. Her eyes never left the ruined skyline. Below her, Wonder Woman gritted her teeth as she locked swords with Giganta once more. The Amazon's blade clashed against the giant woman's bracer with a metallic shriek. Sparks sprayed across the ruined street. Diana rolled to the side, avoiding a crushing heel that shattered a fire hydrant. She flipped up and unleashed a flurry of strikes but got kicked by Giganta again. She crashed on the ground but quickly recovered. Giganta laughed, brushing aside Diana's next strike with a swipe of her arm. "Is that all, princess? That little pig sticker barely scratches." Diana circled her warily, her shield raised, her breathing steady. She had already scored multiple slashes across Giganta's legs and arms, but they looked more like shallow cuts than serious wounds. The giantess kept coming, shrugging off damage with a cruel grin. Diana leapt, spun, and drove her sword into Giganta's shoulder. The blade pierced the skin but did not go deep. "Damn you, bitch!" Giganta roared and swatted her away like a fly. Diana slammed into the side of a crumbling wall and dropped into a crouch, her shield absorbing most of the impact. But she still felt the insane crushing pressure. Had it not been for her armor and the shield, her bones would have been crushed from that blow. Before she could recover, a piercing wail tore through the air. Silver Banshee descended from the smoke above, her white hair streaming behind her. She let out a focused scream that shattered the remains of a street lamp. The sound cracked through the concrete beneath Diana's feet, forcing her to leap aside as a sinkhole opened beneath her. Banshee's voice lashed across the battlefield, a violent, invisible blade. Diana raised her shield just in time to absorb the brunt of it. The force pushed her backward, her boots dragging twin lines in the ash-coated ground. Giganta charged. Her massive fist smashed into the pavement where Diana had just stood. The explosion of debris masked Banshee's second scream, which chased Diana through the smoke. Diana tumbled, then rose quickly, shield up. The two enemies flanked her now. Giganta stood tall, looming over a ruined pharmacy, her fists clenched and ready. Banshee hovered to her left, mouth open and glowing with that ghostly light. Diana tightened her grip on her sword. "You will not pass," she said. Banshee shrieked. The wave of sonic energy struck like a hammer. Diana held her shield up, but this scream was sharper. It chipped the shield's edge and rang inside her skull. Her vision blurred. Blood trickled from her ears. Giganta rushed forward while the scream continued. She swung both fists down like hammers. Diana rolled to the side, but not fast enough. One fist clipped her shoulder and sent her flying across the broken street. She crashed into a burning taxi. Diana groaned and pushed herself up. Her body was screaming. Her lip bled. Her shield arm trembled. But she gritted her teeth and stood up. She stepped over the wreckage and faced them. "Is that all you have?" she called, voice clear and strong. "Darn it. The others must be busy fighting. I must take care of them at any cost." Banshee's glow brightened, readying another scream. Giganta growled, storming forward again. Diana moved first. She sprinted toward them, shield raised. Dust trailed behind her like smoke from a comet. She leapt at Banshee, closed the gap, and drove her shoulder into the wailing spirit's chest before the scream could finish. Banshee was knocked back. She slammed into a wall that immediately crumbled under her weight. Giganta swung from the side. Diana ducked, slid between the giantess's legs, and slashed upward across the back of her calf. The blade opened a deeper cut this time, enough to make Giganta stumble. The towering villain roared, turned too fast, and crashed into a burning car. Flames washed across her arm, but she did not flinch. Diana steadied herself. Blood dripped from her chin. Blood trickled down her sword. She raised her shield again. "You will not pass me," she whispered to herself. While everyone was focused on Diana, Cyclone came back and flew Superman away from there. Back to Harley and John. Harley stood in the middle of the ruined street, her boots crunching on broken glass. The pink remains of Flamingo still steamed nearby, though she did her best not to look directly at it. Her hand was pressed to her side, where the shrapnel had scraped her ribs. Blood soaked through her shirt. Her face was dirty, streaked with dried blood and ash, but her eyes stayed locked on John. He was standing over her, his suit still humming with residual lightning. The storm overhead pulsed in rhythm with the bolt emblem on his chest. Rain continued to fall, plastering his hair to his head and washing the grime from his jawline. John looked at her, then glanced up toward the skyline. The battle between the heroes and villains roared in the distance. More tremors shook the earth. Smoke curled high into the clouds. "Harley," he said quietly, "go home." Harley raised an eyebrow. "What?" "You heard me." His voice remained calm, but it carried weight. "Get out of here. Get back to the apartment. Lock the door. Stay inside until it's over." She took a slow step toward him. Her expression shifted, less amused and more serious. "Are you trying to be all noble now? 'Cause that sounds like something a guy says before he does something stupid and heroic." John looked at the chaos beyond the street. The glow from Giganta's presence cast massive shadows that flickered like monsters across the smoke. "If I don't stop them," he said, "they will come this way, and when they do, they'll level everything in their path, including our place." Harley hesitated, her lips pressed into a thin line. "You better not die, Big John," she said. He turned back to her. There was a softness in his expression now, just a flicker, barely noticeable through the divine armor and stormlight. "I won't," he said. "I'm strong. Now go." She opened her mouth to argue but then closed it. Her shoulders dropped slightly. "All right," she whispered, "but you come back. If you die, I'll drag your soul back from wherever it ends up and yell at it." John nodded once. Then he looked to the sky. Harley stepped back as he rose from the pavement, the wind whipping around him. Electricity sparked across his shoulders. The rain parted around his body as he lifted higher and higher, his cape snapping in the wind. Harley cupped her hands around her mouth. "Go get Captain Thunder Thighs." John rocketed into the air, a streak of black and gold shooting across the storm. The sonic boom of his ascent shook windows for blocks. Harley stood alone in the street, wind tugging at her coat. She looked toward the sky and whispered, "Smack that giant bitch." Then she ran away. Above the city, John soared higher, passing through the smoke like a blade through fog. Below, Giganta roared again, swinging her fist toward Wonder Woman. Her size made her nearly invincible to physical force, and she was already pushing Diana back step by step. John narrowed his eyes and flew before her with a flash of lightning and, boom, he threw an uppercut. John's uppercut collided with Giganta's chin like a thunderclap, and the force launched her straight into the sky. Her massive body shot upward like a bullet fired from a giant cannon, limbs flailing as she broke through clouds and vanished for a second into the storm-torn sky. Before gravity could claim her, John blinked behind her in a crackle of lightning. He raised his leg and slammed his boot into the center of her spine. The sound of her back breaking echoed through the sky like a snapping tree in a hurricane. Her mouth opened in a silent scream as her limbs stiffened midair. John appeared again in front of her falling form, fist cocked. One punch, straight to her face. The blow cracked through her skull with an explosion of blood. Her eyes rolled back. Blood burst from her nose, mouth, and ears. She lost consciousness midair. Her body plummeted back to the earth like a meteor. She slammed into the center of the street, collapsing a city block into a fresh crater. Dust and debris flew in every direction. A shockwave rippled through the surrounding buildings. By the time the rubble settled, she had returned to her normal size. Her giantess form vanished, leaving a badly beaten woman twitching at the bottom of the pit. Her body was broken, her limbs bent at unnatural angles. She was barely breathing. John didn't stop. In a blink, he was in front of Metallo. The cybernetic villain raised his arm to fire, but it never reached full extension. John drove both hands straight into Metallo's chest. Metal shrieked. Sparks exploded. Circuits burst. Silver Banshee flew toward him, mouth wide, her voice tearing through the wind. The sonic wave reached John in seconds, but he was gone before it struck. He blinked to her side, leaving only a spark of lightning where he had stood. Before she could react, John grabbed her jaw with one hand. The bones in her face crunched. Her scream stopped mid-note, cut off by the crushing grip. Her eyes went wide with panic. She tried to claw at his arm, but he didn't flinch, and her nails broke with blood frizzling out. He drove her downward, slamming her into the pavement with enough force to crater the ground beneath her. Her body bounced, then hit again. He kicked her like a bug. She skipped across the street like a stone over water before slamming into a wrecked van and collapsing to the ground, unconscious and bleeding. The street fell silent. John landed near Wonder Woman in a burst of wind and crackling light. His boots hit the broken concrete with enough force to send dust swirling. She was leaning against the remnants of a crushed support pillar, blood streaking down her brow. Her shield cracked at the edge. He stepped toward her. "Are you all right?" Diana exhaled through gritted teeth and nodded. "I've had worse. Thank you. Just protecting my home," John said, then added, "Rest. I'll handle the rest." Without waiting for a reply, he took off again, streaking through the ruined skyline. A few blocks away, Superman and Cyclone were in the middle of a partially evacuated street. Cyclone was crouched beside Superman, who was kneeling, catching his breath beneath the partial shade of a tilted building. His arms were trembling from the kryptonite exposure and exhaustion, and for some reason his body wasn't healing, probably because of the cloudy sky or the extensive exposure to kryptonite. John landed beside them with another crack of wind. "I'm taking him up," he said. Cyclone looked up, strands of her red hair plastered to her forehead from the rain. "There are snipers. High altitude." "I know," John said, reaching down and gripping Superman's arm. Clark looked up at him. "You're sure about this?" "No." John launched into the air with Superman held tight in his grip. They broke through the upper floors of a half-collapsed building and soared into the sky. Almost instantly, sharp hisses cut through the air. Sniper fire. Dozens of high-velocity rounds sliced toward them from the rooftops and clouds, glints of silver and green flashing between bursts of lightning. The rounds were tipped with kryptonite, aimed with precision, but they didn't touch them. John's body ignited with electricity. Sparks crackled across his skin. A storm of lightning burst around him, expanding in every direction like a shield. The air snapped with unstable energy. Each bullet hit the lightning barrier and either disintegrated mid-flight or was knocked aside, spinning harmlessly. The barrier wasn't perfect, since John hadn't used this power in years. So yeah, a little rusty. He used the wisdom of Zehudi on the go to learn more about his power. When they reached enough height, he twisted in the air, using every ounce of strength he had left, and hurled Superman upward. "Heal up, Blues." Superman looked down at John and said, "Thank you." The Man of Steel shot like a missile through the clouds. Within seconds, he pierced the stratosphere, his cape trailing behind him. He flew free of the atmosphere, above the range of any weapon. There, sunlight poured down without a filter, washing over his battered body. He began to heal. Below, in the heart of Fawcett City, the battle had ended. Wonder Woman stood in the wreckage, her shield lowered, her sword sheathed. Cyclone floated above the ruins of the courthouse, watching over the last of the evacuees. Hal Jordan hovered in the sky, forming barriers as emergency crews moved in. Flash stood near a crumpled statue, winded and covered in soot, beside Batman. 20 bombs, all disabled, Flash said, panting. "You were right. Joker didn't care about symbols. He used patterns. Rotating time codes, synced through power lines. I followed the pulse. Boom! 10 extra bombs hiding in the sewers and power grid. Batman didn't look up from the device in his hand. They weren't meant to detonate. Not until someone like Superman got close. Joker built them as a trap. A political one. What? You mean all this was just a stage, Batman said flatly, to frame Superman and paint him as a lunatic. Joker was never aiming to destroy the city. He wanted the world to think Superman could. This is Lex Luthor written all over it, Flash said, cracking his knuckles. A gust of wind signaled Superman's arrival. He landed beside them. Everyone safe? He asked. Flash nodded, catching his breath. Barely. Batman looked up. Where's the other one? The lightning-powered man. Superman's face tensed. Gone. I searched from the sky but couldn't trace him. It's like he disappeared. Flash rubbed the back of his neck. He's the reason half this city is still standing. Took down Metallo, Banshee, and Giganta like they were made of foam. And Flamingo, let's just say, clean up on aisle. Oh God, what is that? Batman was silent for a moment, then pulled out a small black device. He tapped into satellite feeds, but found nothing. Let him be, Diana said as she walked toward them. So, you want a metahuman or God knows what he was? Just roam free without a tag? Hawkgirl flew down and asked with a concerned expression. Don't get me wrong. Everyone is glad he helped fight off those criminals. But still, Batman caught Diana's worried expression. No, Wonder Woman is correct. As long as he doesn't create any problems for us, let him be. We have enough problems on our hands as it is, Batman said as he tapped a few buttons on his gauntlet, and a holographic screen popped up. Someone broke into Waller's underwater metahuman prison and released almost every criminal we captured so far. They took advantage of this chaos. Right now, let's focus on them before things get out of hand. 1 month later, Dakota City. The midday sun burned overhead as a familiar speeding pizza delivery scooter weaved through heavy traffic. The vehicle buzzed between cars, barely missing side mirrors and bumpers, as the blonde girl riding it leaned into every turn like a professional racer. Her long twin pigtails flared behind her helmet like two golden streamers caught in the wind. A tiny speaker strapped to the handlebars blasted pop music at a disrespectful volume, drawing a few annoyed glares from nearby drivers. Move it or lose it, crust chompers, Harley Quinn yelled as she zipped between a garbage truck and a convertible. She honked the little clown horn strapped to the side of the scooter for good measure. The logo painted on the back of her pink and white delivery jacket read J&H Pizza. We need you, and her insulated pizza bag was bouncing dangerously close to falling off the back. She had already gotten caught in traffic twice that day thanks to an overturned truck carrying fish. The stench had made her gag into her helmet, and she had to drive through a storm of flopping, dying tuna while a half-dozen city workers yelled at her to slow down. She hadn't, of course. Harley Quinn didn't slow down for anything unless it was chocolate cake or a well-mannered hyena. Now she was cutting through a back alley, skidding past a man with a pushcart who yelled something in Spanish that Harley probably deserved. The shortcut saved her 20 seconds. The pizza wasn't getting any warmer, and the customer had ordered double meatball, which Harley respected deeply. She took her job seriously. Most days. She burst back onto the main road and swerved to avoid a parked police cruiser. Her front tire hit a pothole the size of a baby pool, but she recovered smoothly, spinning the handlebars with one hand while the other adjusted her helmet. The building she was aiming for finally came into view. It was a high-rise apartment block in the western sector of Dakota City, the kind with half-renovated balconies and flower pots sitting next to rusting AC units. Harley pulled the scooter onto the curb and killed the engine, the silence hitting like a slap. She hopped off, grabbed the pizza bag, and skipped to the front door with a bounce in her step. The security guard sitting behind the desk raised an eyebrow as she entered. Delivery, she sang, holding up the bag. Unit 1205. A Mr. R. Oh wait, no, Ralph McStab you or something let me stab Y. Ark. Weird names. The guard just sighed and buzzed her through. She took the elevator, drumming her fingers against the warm box and humming along to the tune in her head. When the doors opened, she strolled out, walked to the door, and knocked with her usual flair. Pizza's here. I hope you're ready for a mouthful of heaven. The door creaked open, revealing a middle-aged man in a bathrobe and socks that had definitely seen better days. His hair was wild, like he'd been electrocuted or woken from a nap involving questionable dreams and cheap wine. He blinked at Harley, eyes slowly adjusting to the sight of her. She beamed, holding the pizza box like a holy relic. "Double meatball with extra cheese and a sprinkle of joy, sir," she announced. Delivered hot, fresh, and for whole minutes ahead of schedule. The man rubbed his eyes. "You serious?" Harley leaned in slightly, lowering her voice like she was sharing a secret. "Sir, I am so serious I wore a helmet and survived a tuna apocalypse to get this here." He stared at her for a long second, then chuckled and pulled a folded bill from his robe pocket. "You're a riot. Only on weekends," she said with a wink. He handed her the cash. She glanced at it and smiled even wider. "Ah, deep? Look at you, sir. Making dreams come true. You earned it. Have a meatball miracle of a day," Harley added, handing over the pizza and giving him a jaunty salute before turning on her heel and heading back to the elevator. She didn't even wait until the doors closed before she checked the tip. $15, she whispered. "Oh, hot dog money." As soon as she reached the street again, she kicked the scooter into gear and zipped toward her favorite hot dog stand 3 blocks away. The guy who ran it, Hector, always gave her extra mustard when she asked nicely. And today she had cash, time, and an appetite. By the time she pulled up, Hector was already waving. "Miss Quinn," he called. "Been a while." She skidded to a stop with a dramatic swerve and jumped off the scooter. "Hector, my man, give me 2 of your finest sidewalk sausages. 1 with chili and pickles, 1 with everything. Begging. One's for me, and the other's for my partner in pizza." "Still working together?" She nodded, leaning against the cart. "Yup. He makes 'em, I race him across town, and we make enough to not die. Plus, he's got these arms that could punch a satellite. Gotta feed the man." Hector handed over the dogs, wrapped and bagged. Harley handed him the cash with a little dance. "Keep the change, my spicy weenie wizard." He laughed. "Stay out of trouble." "I promise nothing," she said, hopping back on the scooter. She stashed the hot dog bag carefully behind her seat, revved the engine, and pulled back into traffic like a missile covered in glitter. Oh yeah, both of them opened their own pizza joint. Life in Dakota City was almost suspiciously good. For Harley Quinn, good usually meant something was about to explode, catch fire, or crawl out of a sewer with too many teeth. But here things had calmed down. The kind of calm that made Harley itch, but in a good way. She and John had their little pizza joint, J&H Pizza. "We need you." Harley had hand-painted the sign herself, complete with a cartoon pizza slice holding a revolver and a wink. John insisted the gun was unnecessary. Harley insisted guns were family-friendly. They compromised and gave the pizza slice a finger gun instead. The shop wasn't Gotham fancy, but it didn't need to be. A converted laundromat with scuffed linoleum, 2 pizza ovens John had repaired from Craigslist scrap, and a counter Harley had painted pink with glitter glue. The glitter never really dried, so customers sometimes left with sparkles on their elbows. Harley called it brand loyalty. Dakota City wasn't crime-free, not by a long shot, but compared to Gotham or Fawcett, it was paradise. Sure, every other Tuesday some kid with electric powers shorted out a traffic light, or a flying metal dude fought a guy who could turn into gas in the middle of Main Street. But most of the time, it was quiet enough to sling pizzas and yell at John for folding the napkins wrong. On a good afternoon, Harley zipped around the shop with an apron covered in marinara stains and doodles she'd added with Sharpie. One pocket had a smiley face. The other had "Tips please" or "I'll cry," scrawled in uneven letters. "Table 4 wants extra cheese, no olives," John called from the oven. His voice was steady, calm, like always. If he was rattled, he never showed it. "No olives." Harley gasped like she'd just been told the Pope stole her hyena. She stomped toward the table, glaring at the customer like they'd confessed to murder. Who don't like olives? The guy, a college student with acne and a Dakota U hoodie, raised his hands nervously. I just don't like the taste. You don't like happiness either? You don't like joy? You don't like the glisten of the Mediterranean sun on a tiny little fruit that sacrificed itself to spice up your boring life? Harley leaned closer until he flinched. John appeared behind her, gently steering her by the shoulders. Harley, order. Fine, she huffed, spinning back to the kitchen. But when the man's sad and lonely in 30 years, remember he turned away the olives. John didn't comment. He slid the pizza into the oven. He never said much, but when Harley was too much, and Harley was always too much, he had this way of grounding her. Just a hand on her shoulder, or a flat Harley no. It worked better than anything else had in her life. She didn't admit that out loud. Too mushy. Harley's self-control and nightlife. Harley made a real effort to live normal. She woke up, brushed her teeth most days, went to work, delivered pizzas on the scooter, came home, watched dumb soap operas with John, and went to bed. She resisted a lot of temptations, like the vending machine in the laundromat across the street. It had this smug Snickers bar that always got stuck halfway when other people paid. Every night, Harley stared at it through the window like it owed her money. Don't do it, John would say without looking up from the cash register. I wasn't gonna, Harley lied. And the mall. Oh boy, the mall. Dakota City Mall had a leather jacket that practically screamed her name. A shiny red number with studs down the arms. She pressed her nose against the glass once and drooled a little. The security guard gave her a look. I'm good now, Harley shouted at him, raising her hands. Reformed citizen. I only steal, hearts, and occasionally pens from the bank, but they chain those things down, so it's basically a victimless crime. She walked away, without the jacket, which felt like a personal betrayal of everything Harley Quinn stood for. But she did it because John believed in her. Of course, trying to behave only went so far. At night, when John was asleep or tinkering with the ovens, Harley sneaked out. Not in her old clown getup, just in a hoodie, sneakers, and a baseball bat she called savings account. Dakota City had its share of gangsters and corner thugs. Nothing Gotham level, but enough to make Harley's fingers twitch. So she helped, in her own way. Hey boys, she chirped one night, stepping into a back alley where 3 goons were shaking down a shop owner. What's the exchange rate for broken noses these days? 'Cause I'm about to invest heavily. They laughed. Well, for about 2 seconds. Then Harley's bat cracked across one guy's jaw, sending teeth scattering like Skittles. The second guy pulled a knife, which she snatched, flipped, and used to cut his shoelaces before kicking him in the knee. He went down like a folding chair. The third ran, smartest of the bunch. She whistled, scooping up their wallets and phones. Dank ya kindly. Don't worry, I'll put it to good use. Black markets open all night, sugar plums. Surprisingly, she gave back the shopkeeper's money after looting them. By the time she got home, she had $500, 2 pairs of sneakers, and a pair of gold-plated earbuds. She sold the lot to a shady pawn shop and stuffed the cash in a cookie jar labeled J&H's Honeymoon Fund. John found the jar once. He looked at her. She looked back. Savings, she said, grinning. He sighed, put the lid back on, said nothing. Harley versus the bubblegum. Her biggest struggle was bubblegum. Dakota City had these corner stores with giant bins of candy by the register. Rows of shiny pink gumballs in perfect wrapping, just begging for a sticky-fingered klepto. One afternoon, Harley stood in front of the bin, sweating. The cashier eyed her like a hawk. You okay, miss? I'm fine, Harley said through gritted teeth. She gripped the counter so hard her knuckles popped. Just admiring the craftsmanship. Look at these spheres. Perfect geometry. Galileo would be proud. She slapped $1 on the counter. Gimme 7. The cashier bagged 7 pieces. Harley walked out, chewing, proud of herself for buying instead of stealing. Character development, baby, she told herself around a mouthful of gum. Life with John. Living with John was nothing like Harley's old life. For once, there was no need to look over her shoulder every 10 minutes. No Joker-shaped shadow waiting to yank her chain. Just John, steady as a brick wall, with a quiet presence that somehow anchored her stormy self. They shared a small 2-bedroom apartment above the shop. John cooked half the time, and when Harley cooked, it usually involved cereal or Pop-Tarts flambe. He repaired appliances like it was therapy. She painted murals on the walls. The living room now had a giant pink hyena chasing a pizza slice with wings. At night, despite having 2 bedrooms, she would sneak into John's bed and curl against him, warm and restless. Her leg usually draped across his like she was marking territory. Sometimes she sprawled across him like a starfish or hugged him while snoring into his chest. John never complained. He just shifted enough to hold her steady. He was a heavy sleeper most nights, but Harley noticed that even when he was out cold, his arms stayed firm around her, protective, like some part of him never really let go. She teased him about it one morning, poking his chest. "You're like one of them big stuffed bears they sell at Valentine's, but less fluffy, yet so cozy, and scarier when you snore." John gave a rare small smile. "You're the one snoring." "Was not," she shot back, though she absolutely had been. Those moments, the teasing, the quiet smiles, were becoming more common. When they first met, John barely cracked a grin. His face was stone, his voice steady, his eyes always watching the horizon. Now he smiled at her jokes. Sometimes it was just a twitch at the corner of his mouth, other times a full grin when she went over the top. Sometimes she plopped herself in his lap while he was fixing something, wrapping her arms around his shoulders and kissing his cheek until he sighed and let her distract him. Other times she'd drag him to the couch, insisting they watch whatever ridiculous soap opera was on, even if he clearly thought the plot was nonsense. But he watched anyway, with her, always with her. Harley never asked about his powers. She never asked what he did before Fawcett or why he carried that weight in his eyes whenever thunder rolled outside. She figured if he wanted to tell her, he would. And if he didn't, well, she wasn't exactly Miss Transparency herself. Everyone had ghosts. She respected his. What mattered was that he was here, with her. There was one evening, after closing the shop, when Harley dragged John onto the roof. She brought 2 beers, a blanket, and an entire pizza balanced on a paper plate. They sat side by side on the edge, legs dangling over the street while the neon sign flickered below. "You know," Harley said between mouthfuls, "this ain't so bad. I mean, sure, I miss the occasional heist, the adrenaline, the kabooms, the chaos. But sitting up here with you, that's nice too. Real nice." John glanced at her, the city lights catching in his eyes, and he smiled. Harley felt her chest squeeze in a way that scared her more than any bat, clown, or metahuman brawl ever had. Harl doesn't want to lose him, ever. She leaned against him, resting her head on his shoulder. "Don't get used to me being sappy," she muttered. "Too late," he said softly. She didn't have an answer for that, so she just shoved another slice of pizza in her mouth. Sunday noon at the mall. Sunday in Dakota City felt like Sunday anywhere. Kids screaming at the arcade. Parents dragging their offspring through department stores like reluctant sleds. The smell of buttery pretzels filling the air and clogging arteries in real time. John wasn't a mall person. He looked out of place, like someone had picked up a stoic brick wall in a flannel shirt and dropped it in the middle of a hot topic. But Harley thrived in this environment. If chaos had a food court, it was here. She bounced ahead of him, pointing at everything like a kid on a sugar rush. "Oh, John, look, a Build-A-Bear. Can we build a bear? No, wait, build a hyena. Do they get that? Oh, we should get matching Crocs. Pink for me, black for you. No? Okay. Fine, but you're at least getting glitter laces." John followed, carrying 2 shopping bags already. He hadn't bought anything for himself. Just socks Harley swore she'd steal if he didn't get them. "Harley," he said, his voice steady as always. "We came here for one thing." She pouted. "We can't just live a little?" He raised an eyebrow. She sighed. "Fine. One thing." That one thing turned out to be the jacket. The shiny red leather jacket in the window of Dakota City Mall's overpriced boutique. Harley had been drooling over it for weeks. A dangerous kind of longing, the sort of thing she usually solved with breaking glass and running shoes. But not anymore. Harley froze in front of the display, eyes wide, palms pressed against the glass like she was watching a long-lost lover walk by. There it is, the forbidden fruit. She glanced at John and smirked. Why not buy it with the money she made from those goons? That money is only for her honeymoon fund. No compromise on that. He didn't say a word, just walked inside. "Wait, wait, wait," Harley whispered, running after him. "Yon? No. That thing's like..." She checked the price tag. Her voice went high. "Oh boy, that's 2 months' rent. That's 300 slices of pizza. That's highway robbery." "Harley," John said, "stay outside." She stayed, for maybe 5 seconds. Then she peeked through the door like a raccoon. John stood at the counter, wallet out, completely unfazed. The cashier boxed the jacket, Harley squeaked, and by the time he walked back out, she was vibrating like a shaken soda can. He held the bag out. "Here." Harley's eyes went saucer-wide. "No way. You did not. John Mason, you absolute madman. You did not just..." She ripped the bag open, pulled out the jacket, and slipped it on in one motion. Fit perfectly. Like it had been waiting for her. She spun, arms wide, the mall lights catching the glossy leather. "Oh my God.
I'm gorgeous. I'm Liefel. I'm..."
She stopped mid-spin, stared at John, then launched herself at him. He had no warning. 1 second she was twirling, the next she was in his arms, legs wrapped around his waist, kissing him full on the mouth like a scene from a rom-com with explosives. For a long second, neither of them moved. Harley's brain caught up with her body, and her eyes went wide. She pulled back, still clinging to him, stammering like a broken jukebox. I look, don't, okay, that was, shut up." John chuckled, actually chuckled. A low, warm sound that made her insides twist in a way Harley Quinn wasn't prepared for. "You look good in it," he said simply. Harley blinked at him. Then she shoved her face against his chest to hide how red she was turning. "You're killing me here, Mason." He didn't reply, just held her steady until she hopped down, muttering something about popcorn and changing the subject fast enough to make herself dizzy. They saw a movie next. Harley picked the loudest action flick she could find. Explosions, car chases, a villain with a robot arm and bad one-liners. She laughed at every corny bit, threw popcorn at the screen when a side character died, and whispered commentary nonstop. John sat through the whole thing without a word. The only time he reacted was when Harley leaned over halfway through and whispered, "You're totally hotter than that guy." His ear turned red. Victory. Evening at J&H Pizza. By evening, they were back at the shop. Harley insisted they open late, because apparently, the city needs pizza. John, don't be a monster. Business was steady. A couple of families, some college kids, one guy who ordered anchovies and got a 15-minute lecture from Harley about seafood and betrayal. By 9, things had slowed down. John counted cash at the register, neat stacks forming like little paper soldiers. Harley stretched her legs outside. She leaned against the doorframe, chewing gum and blowing bubbles so big they almost popped in her hair. She was about to head back in when she noticed something. Someone was watching the shop. A girl, maybe 19 or older, half hidden behind a light post across the street. She was thin, hunched into an oversized blue hoodie, with ripped jeans and shoes that looked like they'd been dumpster dived. But what stood out wasn't the clothes. It was the skin, bluish. Harley tilted her head. The kid peeked at the glowing J&H pizza sign like it was calling her name, then ducked when Harley spotted her. Harley grinned. Well, 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 what have we got here? The girl across the street lingered like a shadow that forgot how to fade. Harley leaned against the doorframe, chewing gum, squinting through the neon glow of J&H Pizza's sign. The kid looked no older than 19. Oversized blue hoodie, ripped jeans, beat-up sneakers. Her skin had a pale bluish tint, not like makeup or a bad night's sleep, but like frostbite trying to live on a human face. The girl's eyes flicked to the shop and away again. She hugged herself against the night air, though it wasn't cold. When Harley caught her looking, she ducked behind the streetlight like it could swallow her whole. Harley's grin stretched wide. Trouble had found her. Well, 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 what have we got here? Harley whispered, popping her gum. She ran inside, apron still tied crookedly around her waist. John was at the counter, rolling bills into neat stacks, precise as always. He looked up. Don't shoot me for a skin, sugar, Harley said, flopping onto the counter and nearly crushing the tip jar. But did you notice the Smurfette lurking outside? John set the cash aside without answering right away. That was his thing, chewing on silence like it was gum. Finally, he said, She's been there since 7. Oh. Harley pointed at him like she'd caught him red-handed. And you didn't tell me? She wasn't a threat, John replied calmly. Hungry, maybe. Hungry's still a crime in my book if it means staring at my neon masterpiece for hours, Harley said. She hopped off the counter. I'm going in. She is a... John started, but she was already halfway out the door. Bang, baby. Outside, the girl startled when Harley walked across the street. She shrank into her hoodie, eyes darting left and right like a cornered cat. Relax, kiddo, Harley said, stopping a few feet away. She popped her gum. I ain't the cops. Though technically I got an apron. So that makes me a waitress with jurisdiction over mozzarella-based disputes. The girl blinked. Confusion beat fear for half a second. Name's Harley, she continued, hands on her hips. Yes, that Harley. And before you ask, yeah, the rumors are true. I once dumped Penguin in a fish barrel and exported him to France. Don't ask why. Long story. What's your name, Blueberry? The girl muttered something too quiet to catch. Speak up, hon. I ain't got sonar. Maureen, she whispered, voice raspy from either nerves or exhaustion. Maureen Connor. Harley tilted her head. Gee, but you look more like a Maureen the Bluebell to me. What are you doing out here? Freezing up my sidewalk with those big sad eyes. I was just looking, Maureen said. Her gaze drifted to the sign again. It looks warm in there. Well, duh. We got ovens. 2 of them. But lemme guess. Harley squinted. You're one of them bang babies, ain't ya? The girl stiffened. Oh, nailed it. Don't gotta tell me twice. I've seen enough shades of weird in Gotham to recognize a metahuman glow when I see one. Harley leaned closer, lowering her voice. What's your trick, huh? You breathe glitter? Spit fire? Pull rabbits out of your ears? Maureen hesitated. Then she opened one palm. Frost spiraled across her skin, spreading in jagged little veins of ice. Steam curled into the air. Oh, cool, Harley said without missing a beat. Can you make popsicles? Maureen snapped her hand shut like she'd shown too much. People don't usually think it's cool. They think it's scary. And I guess I can make popsicles. Harley rolled her eyes. Sweetheart, I once fought a cannibal and nearly got stomped by a freaking giant. Scary's relative. Come on, you look half-starved. First slice is on the house. She hooked an arm around the girl's shoulders and dragged her across the street before Maureen could argue. Inside J&H, the warmth of the ovens hit Maureen like a wall. She froze at the doorway, blinking against the glow of string lights Harley had stapled haphazardly along the ceiling. The place smelled like garlic, basil, and flour. John glanced up. His gaze lingered on Maureen for a moment, steady and unreadable, before he returned to the cash register. "Don't mind him," Harley chirped. "That's John. Looks like a brick wall. Acts like a brick wall. But secretly he's a giant teddy bear who snores like a chainsaw." "I don't snore," John said. "Liar." Harley shot back automatically. Maureen stood awkwardly by the counter, tugging her sleeves down over her icy hands. "Sit," John said without looking at her. Maureen took a seat at the corner table next to the counter. Harley darted into the kitchen and returned with a steaming plate, slapping down a slice of pepperoni big enough to fold in half. "There you go. Eat up before it melts into existential despair." Maureen eyed the pizza like it might bite her. Slowly, she picked it up. The first bite was cautious. The second was hungrier. By the third, she was inhaling it like a vacuum. Harley clapped her hands together. "Atta girl. Nothing heals teenage angst like carbs and grease." Maureen swallowed hard. "I'll pay you back. Somehow." "You kiddin'? The only currency we accept here is smiles, awkward hugs, and the occasional body disposal. You're good." John set the last stack of bills aside and finally spoke again. "You live around here?" Maureen froze with the crust halfway to her mouth. "Sometimes. That mean you got a home or not?" Silence. Harley smacked John lightly on the arm. Subtle, big guy. Real gentle. She crouched in front of Maureen, grinning widely. "Don't listen to him. He's got all the bedside manner of a cinder block. You crashin' somewhere sketchy? Some alley, maybe?" Maureen looked down at her shoes. "Bingo," Harley said. "All right, new plan. You're hangin' with us." Maureen's head shot up. "What? Don't argue. I can see your ribs through that hoodie, and it ain't fashion, it's malnutrition. Plus, I don't trust Dakota's streets after dark. Too many creeps with bad breath. You can have my bed, since I'm always crashing in with the cinder block. Eat our cereal. Maybe help fold pizza boxes if you feel fancy." "I don't want to be a problem." Harley ruffled her hair. Frost clung to her fingers, but she didn't flinch. "Kid, being a problem's kinda my brand. You're safe here." Then she turned toward John. "Can we help her?" She then made puppy eyes. "Please." She pointed her finger at Maureen. "She got cool ice power. We can make our own slushy and ice cream brand, instead of buying them from outside." John sighed, the kind of heavy exhale that meant Harley had already won, but he needed to make a show of resistance. He set his elbows on the counter and rubbed the bridge of his nose. "Harley," he said evenly, "you want her because you think she's a walking slushy machine." Harley gasped in mock offense. "Excuse you, that's only like 60% true. 70 tops. Maybe 80 if she can do soft serve." John's eyes flicked toward Maureen. The girl shrank into her chair, shoulders rising, as if waiting to be told to leave. Her fingers gripped the remaining little crust of her pizza like it might disappear if she let go. "Look at her," Harley said, softening her tone. "She's one sad Disney montage away from being a tragic ice princess. We can give her a roof. You got any idea how hard it is out there? She'll freeze her butt off, and that's saying something." "She won't freeze," John muttered, glancing at Maureen's pale skin. "Not with what she is. Okay, wise guy, but she'll starve. Or worse." Harley planted her hands on her hips. "You're the one who made me promise we'd do good here. Feed people, help the community, blah blah blah. She's people. She counts." John's jaw tightened. He held the silence again for a few seconds. Finally, he leaned back against the counter and folded his arms. "Fine," he said, "but there are rules. Roof and food in exchange for help around the shop and chores. I'll pay you for your work too. You don't work, you don't stay, and you don't get paid. Clear?" Maureen blinked at him, surprised he had spoken to her directly. She nodded quickly, too quickly, like she was afraid the offer would vanish if she didn't accept it fast enough. "Yes, sir," she said. "Don't call me sir," John replied. "It's John." Maureen lowered her gaze and whispered, "Okay." Harley squealed and practically tackled the poor girl in a hug. Maureen stiffened at first, unused to the sudden warmth and contact, but Harley squeezed tighter, rocking her side to side. "Welcome to the family, Bluebell," Harley announced. "Keep your head down, carry your weight, and who knows? Maybe one day I'll even slap your name on the sign."
J&H et M pizza.
Doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but hey, neither does mozzarella. For the first time all night, Maureen smiled. Just a flicker. Small and fragile, but it was there. That night, the room Harley cleared out for Maureen wasn't much. A spare bedroom in the small apartment above the shop. The paint looks new. There was a dresser that leaned slightly to the left, and a twin bed with fresh sheets, the pillow soft, and the blanket heavy enough to bury her under its weight. Maureen sat at the edge of the bed, staring at the ceiling fan as it spun lazily. The warmth of the room wrapped around her like an alien thing. She wasn't used to it. Not this kind of warmth. Not the kind that seeped into her bones and told her she didn't have to stay awake to keep watch. Her hand trailed across the quilt. So soft. Not a pile of jackets in a train car. Not a cardboard box with newspapers shoved inside. Real fabric, smelling faintly of detergent. She drew the blanket around herself and for the first time in years, felt safe enough to close her eyes without bracing for footsteps in the dark. But sleep didn't come easily. Memory and guilt came first. Her past and the real reason she was waiting out the joint. Snow clung to the cracked windows of the small house. The place was never warm enough, even when the heater rattled through the nights. Maureen sat cross-legged on the living room carpet, her hands folded neatly in her lap, staring at the wrapped boxes stacked under the tree. The lights on the tree blinked in uneven rhythms, a strand shorting every few minutes, but to her eyes it was magic. Though they were struggling, her mother made sure to buy some little gifts for her little girl. Her mother was in the armchair across from her, wrapped in a quilt. Her face looked thin, skin pale against the glow of the television, but her smile was soft. She kept clearing her throat, fighting the weakness in her lungs. Every laugh came out wheezy, every breath shallow. Maureen had grown used to the sound, though every cough made her stomach twist. Behind them, the man who called himself her stepfather muttered at the counter. He wasn't watching them. He wasn't watching the tree or the girl waiting for him to sit and open gifts together. He poured himself another drink, shoulders hunched, eyes tired of being here at all. "Can I open them, Mama?" Maureen asked, her voice hopeful. Her mother's tired smile widened. "Yes, baby. Open the small one first." Maureen tore the paper carefully, not wanting to ruin the bright colors. Inside was a porcelain angel with painted gold wings. The little figure carried a star above its head, face tilted upward. "It's pretty," Maureen whispered, holding it close. "It's yours," her mother said, coughing into the quilt. "So you always have someone watching over you." Maureen hugged it, chest warm. She wanted to tell her mom she didn't need an angel when she already had her. The front door opened so hard it rattled the windows. Her stepfather kicked it open and yelled, "I'm done with this. I didn't sign up for a sick house and another man's kid. I'm done." The blast of winter air rolled through the living room, sweeping around the tree, sweeping across her mother in the chair. She gasped, her hand clutching her chest. The coughing turned violent. "Wait!" Maureen cried, scrambling up, but the door had already slammed again. Her mother tried to push herself upright, but her breath wouldn't come. The quilt slid to the floor. The coughing broke into silence, her chest heaving but empty. The color drained from her lips as her hand fell limp against the armrest. "Manga," Maureen whispered, shaking her arm. "Mama, wake up. Mama, please." She ran to the desk and brought her inhaler.
Mama, inhaler.
"Mama." She kept calling her, but her mom never woke up. The tree lights kept blinking. The angel in her hand slipped, shattered on the floor. Porcelain wings scattered across the carpet, broken in half. That night, Maureen sat in the living room with her mother's still body, staring at the cracked porcelain pieces until her eyes blurred. The cold air crept through the windows. She stayed anyway, dazed in shock and grief. The days after blurred together. There were adults she didn't know who came to take her away. A woman with a clipboard and a heavy coat said words like child services and foster care. Maureen bolted from the front porch before she could be touched. She ran until her legs ached. She found corners of the city where no one asked questions. She wrapped herself in trash bags and cardboard. Her mother's face stuck in her head like a photograph she couldn't tear up. Food came from church kitchens. Reverend Anderson left sandwiches by the back steps for her when she was too ashamed to walk in. He smiled at her when she did show up, like he knew she was fighting something too heavy for her age. She never smiled back. She stayed in an abandoned cable car depot with other kids and people who had no homes. Some shared scraps, some shoved her away. The nights were always freezing. She would hold her arms tight to her chest, pretending she didn't care that the cold was cutting into her bones. When the night of the Big Bang came, she had crept out near the waterfront looking for food. Smoke filled the air after the canisters exploded, rolling over alleys and streets. It burned in her throat, burned her skin, and then something changed. The cold stopped hurting. Ice curled from her fingertips without her asking. The others screamed when they saw it, backing away like she had turned into something inhuman. The first time she froze a streetlight solid, she laughed. It was power, finally. The world couldn't push her around anymore. Maureen named herself Permafrost and decided to ruin the lives of other families in the same way her family was ruined. She had lost her own family and had never known real happiness. Present time. The ceiling fan hummed softly above her, the steady rhythm tapping at her nerves. The blanket felt heavy, real cotton pressing down on her chest instead of damp coats or stolen blankets. She pulled it tighter, hating how good it felt. The pillow cradled her head in a way that scared her more than Allie's ever had. She turned her face into the fabric and whispered, "Why are you doing this to me?" She had been ready, hungry enough that her body ached. She had waited outside that pizza shop for hours. In her head, she pictured the scene. The tall man with stone eyes or the loud blonde woman would come out, yell about her scaring off customers, maybe shove her for good measure. That would be her moment. She would let the frost pour out of her palms, freeze the neon sign, crack the windows, coat the ovens in ice. And John, the man with stone eyes, didn't threaten her like she imagined. He asked where she lived. He set rules, simple ones. Work, eat, earn. His voice carried authority but not cruelty. After surviving in the darkest part of the streets for years, she gained certain intuition and could tell who's bad and who's good. She could just tell that John was a good guy. Maureen had eaten the pizza so fast and it was so tasty that she almost cried. She hadn't tasted anything that warm in months. Now she was in their spare room with a real bed, told she belonged here if she wanted it. The guilt gnawed at her chest like a rat. She had planned to hurt them. Instead, she was full and warm. She buried her face into the pillow, teeth gritted. "I didn't ask for this," she whispered. "You were supposed to shove me away. This isn't fair." Her hands curled, frost gathering at her fingertips before fading again. The truth she hated most of all was simple. For the first time since her mother's death, she didn't feel invisible. Next morning, Harley opened the bedroom door. "Rise and shine, frosty flakes," Harley sang, clapping her hands. "Breakfast is served, and if you wait too long, I'll eat your share out of principle." Maureen startled awake, clutching the blanket like she'd been caught doing something wrong. Her hair stuck up at odd angles. The warmth of the room still felt unreal, as if it would vanish if she blinked too hard. "Come on, kiddo," Harley said. "But first things first. I'm giving you the spa treatment, deluxe edition. You smell like alleyway mystery stew." Maureen blinked. "The what?" "The bath," Harley said, hauling her to her feet. "Don't worry, I gotcha. Bubbles, body wash, fluffy towels. Time to get you back into the civilization." Let's go. Steam rose as the tub filled. Harley tossed in a splash of pink swirled soap and the water frothed with bubbles. She set a bottle of body wash on the counter, something neon-colored with Sugar Rush printed across the label in glittery letters. This stuff will make you smell like cotton candy married a fruit salad, Harley said proudly. Premium stuff. Maureen hesitated at the door, fingers clutching the hoodie sleeve. I can do it myself. Relax, Bluebell. I ain't planning on scrubbing you like a car hood. Just set in the scene. Harley winked, then turned her back to give the girl space. Soak up, chill out. You deserve it. And don't you dare argue, or I'll toss you in with your clothes on. When Harley left, Maureen lowered herself into the hot water. The warmth crawled up her skin, melting the chill she usually carried like armor. She leaned back against the porcelain, closing her eyes as bubbles clung to her arms. The scent of the body wash was absurdly sweet, but she used it anyway, rubbing the foam along her shoulders. For the first time in years, she didn't smell like rust and dirt. She smelled human. Bedroom. When she finished, Harley was waiting with a pile of clothes. Here you go. Vintage Quinn collection. Don't worry, it's all washed. Probably. Maybe. And mostly. The stack included a red and blue hoodie that smelled faintly of detergent, black leggings, and a t-shirt with a cartoon bat on it. Maureen slipped into them, tugging the sleeves over her hands. Harley tilted her head. Perfect fit. Look at you. Like a sad blueberry turned into a cherry pie. Maureen muttered, Thanks. Harley grinned. Good enough for me. Now come on. Breakfast before John eats all the wings. Kitchen table. The table was already set. A plate piled with stuffed garlic bread sat steaming beside a basket of chicken wings glistening with sauce. Scrambled eggs with a sprinkle of herbs. A pot of coffee steamed in the center, mugs lined up like soldiers. John stood behind the counter, finishing a second pan of eggs. Sit, he said, not looking up. Maureen sat in a chair. Harley plopped down beside her, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. One she pushed toward John, the other she claimed for herself. Maureen reached for the garlic bread. Her fingers trembled, but she took a piece and bit in. Cheese stretched, gooey and hot. She closed her eyes, savoring it. Careful, John said. Hot. She nodded quickly, swallowing too fast. Harley leaned on her elbow. Told ya. Our boy here makes a breakfast that'll make you forget your own name. Don't get used to it, though. Tomorrow you're on toast duty. Maureen blinked. Toast duty. Everyone pitches in, John said simply, sitting down with his own plate. Harley wagged a finger. And don't let him trick you with his scary voice. It's not slavery. It's tradition. Community. Like family dinner, but in the morning. Maureen's hands froze around her plate. The word family stuck in her ears like a pin. She lowered her gaze, hiding her face in another bite of garlic bread. John watched her quietly. Then, as if to ease the weight, he shifted the plate of chicken wings toward her. Eat. She took one. Slowly at first, then faster until sauce smeared her fingers. Harley laughed, tossing her a napkin. Atta girl. Now you're a real Quinn diner. Maureen wiped her hands, cheeks flushing faintly. It's really good. John gave a single nod, which, from him, might as well have been applause. Behind J&H Pizza Place, later that morning, the rumble of a truck echoed down the alley, followed by a loud honk. Harley threw open the back door, waving as the driver hopped out. Supplies incoming, she called. And by supplies, I mean enough cheese to clog an artery just by looking at it. The driver began unloading crates stacked with flour, veggies, boxes of mozzarella, and a couple of other items. John stepped out, sleeves rolled up, ready to haul. Harley, Maureen, lend me a hand. On it, boss man, Harley said, grabbing a crate of soda bottles and passing a smaller box to Maureen. Maureen was clutching the cardboard against her chest. Her breath puffed white in the morning air, though the day wasn't cold. Careful, Bluebell, Harley said, bumping the box with her elbow. Don't drop the sacred mozzarella. Maureen almost smiled. I won't. They carried the crates inside. John stacked the heavier ones near the walk-in fridge. Maureen set hers down and stepped back. John glanced at her. You did fine. The words were simple, flat, but Maureen felt heat crawl into her face. It had been a long time since anyone told her she did fine. Harley slung an arm around her shoulders. See? You're officially part of the team. Next step, pizza box origami. We'll make a professional outta ya yet. Maureen ducked her head, hiding a faint smile. Noon. The bell over the door jingled every few minutes as customers came and went. The lunch rush had begun to swell. John moved fast in the kitchen, stretching dough, sliding pies into the oven, turning out trays of garlic bread with practiced rhythm. The air was thick with the smell of baked cheese and roasted tomato. Harley had taken off an hour earlier with 2 stacked delivery bags hooked over her shoulder, yelling something about tips and free entertainment if anyone stiffed her. That left Maureen at the counter. She stood a little stiff, pen in hand, scribbling down orders on a notepad. The first few customers had stared too long. A woman whispered to her husband, her eyes darting to Maureen's pale blue skin as though it were a stain. 2 boys laughed softly when she reached for their menus. Maureen carried the slip of paper back to the kitchen, holding it tight. John glanced at her face, then the order, and without looking up from the cutting board said, It's human nature. People stare at what they do not understand. They get curious when they see someone or something different. Harley used to get those stares back then. But with time, things changed. It'll change for you too. So, don't think too much. He slid a tray toward her. Do your job. That is what matters. She nodded slowly, throat tight, but when she walked back out, she kept her shoulders straighter. Carrying plates to a booth, she focused on balance, on setting them down without clatter. The customers mumbled their thanks without looking at her. That was fine. She's used to that. By the time the clock above the counter hit 2, she had found a rhythm. Take the orders, smile enough that it looked polite, bring the plates out. John stayed steady in the kitchen, and whenever she passed him a new slip, his words echoed back. It'll change for you too. A few hours later, the lunch crowd thinned. Harley was snoring upstairs after the rush hour. Maureen wiped down tables after eating lunch. A couple of teenagers lingered in the corner booth, laughing over sodas. She caught one girl staring, but instead of shrinking, Maureen met her gaze until the girl looked away. John came out from the kitchen carrying a tray of fresh wings for a late table. He set them down, spoke a short thanks to the customers, and stepped back toward the counter. His eyes flicked toward Maureen, a small nod acknowledging her effort. She almost smiled. The quiet between orders felt comfortable. Maureen leaned on the counter, tapping her pencil against the notepad. She could almost imagine this was normal life. No Alice, no hunger. Just pizza, garlic bread, and the steady hum of the fan overhead. 4 p.m. The place was empty for now. Door swung open. The bell chimed. A familiar figure walked in. Her clothes were casual enough for the city streets. A simple top, golden jacket, jeans, and high-knee boots. She walked over to the window table and took a seat. Maureen took the menu and walked over to her. John peeked out from the kitchen doorway. Diana, what the hell is she doing here? Did she track me here? TSK. The clock above the counter ticked past 9, and the streets outside had gone quiet. Harley had already dragged the mop bucket out, humming to herself while she swished water across the tiles. Maureen stacked the last of the clean plates, glancing every now and then at the window table where Diana still sat. The golden-jacketed woman had not budged in hours. She ate 6 large pizzas and 4 garlic breads. When Maureen timidly set the bill down, Diana had paid without blinking, sliding the money over with a smile that made Maureen's fingers shake. What is Wonder Woman doing in here? She ate so much. How is she not fat? Ark, don't overthink, Maureen. She must be here on her secret mission. Wait, should I get an autograph? No way, I'm too nervous. Let's get out of her way. She took the money and ran away to the counter. Harley kept whispering like a gossiping ant, ducking close to Maureen's ear whenever John's back was turned. She's here for me. Gotta be. It must be because of that time when I threw stink bombs on her head and into Bat's car. I knew it would come back to bite my ass. Bat's probably sent her as payback. Or maybe she's mad, 'cause I called her a shiny gladiator Barbie on live TV. Think she remembers that? Maureen tried not to laugh but failed. Live TV? She asked. Yeah, I used to run with Livewire back then, and she had this news channel where she trolled Superman. So I kinda made fun of her on live TV. It was so fun back then, Harley whispered as her eyes went toward Diana. But not so much right now. Meanwhile, the last customers trickled out. A group of college kids had taken pictures of Diana but dared not approach her. Dakota City rarely saw Justice League members up close, and their curiosity buzzed through the air. Well, Diana ignored them and remained in her seat with a calm face. Finally, John got out of the kitchen. His jaw was set like stone, his patience worn thin. He flipped the sign on the door so it read closed, slid the bolt in place, and crossed the room. He pulled out the chair opposite Diana and sat down. "What do you want?" he asked with cold eyes and a hint of annoyance in his tone. Diana met his stare without flinching. "I did not mean to disrupt your life. That was never my intent. But ever since I first saw you in that crowd, and again when you saved me during the bomb incident, I have sensed something about you. Power. Not ordinary power, but something old and divine. I feel the presence of multiple gods within you. My instincts are rarely wrong. So I followed what I felt, and it led me here. I only have questions. Once I hear your answers, I will leave you be." John leaned back slightly, folding his arms. "And why should I tell you anything? Did Batman send you even after that warning? Is this his game now? Find out what makes me tick so he can write me down in one of his little files? Countermeasures against me, like he already has for all of you? Or do you have some other agenda you are not admitting?" Diana's eyes narrowed, but she kept her composure. John leaned forward, his voice dropping lower, each word edged with warning. "I do not care what you want. I have built something here that matters to me. Now, you are here trying to interrogate me. Next I know, your Justice League friends or Waller or the JSA might come here and destroy my peaceful life. You think I will just stand by? Hell no. I'll mess them up. And do not mistake me. I might not be able to take all of you down, but I can kill half of you before I fall. That is not a threat. That is a fact." The air between them grew heavier, Maureen frozen in place behind the counter, Harley clutching her mop like it might double as a weapon. John's gaze locked with Diana's. "So I will ask you once, are you ready to take that risk? Because this is your first and only warning. Do not interfere with my life. Keep your little bands of heroes in check. I heard from Batman about Kondak and your hatred for us. I understand your pain and—" Before Diana could finish, John slammed his fist on the table and said, "You understand nothing, princess. Not a damn thing. We suffered while you so-called heroes were playing politics. Every day I watched those bastards kill so many people. Men, women, children. Old, young. The burning smell of flesh. There was barely any food for us to eat. Dry bread, rotten food, stale water, and they beat us every day. Some thought the heroes would save them one day and end their sufferings, but no one came. Haha, you think you understand me? You know nothing of suffering. Heck, your kind live on others' misery. So how could you know what real suffering is?" Diana didn't say anything but clenched her fists. "Looting ships, sleeping with the men and killing them after having your fill, then sinking those ships. That's how you Amazonians get knocked up, don't you? When a girl is born, you girls brainwash them and mold them according to your visions. And in case a boy is born, don't you just kill them or send them somewhere to die? Oh, your mom must have gone on a lot of raids, right? So, Here's a quick question for you. John leaned forward with a cold smile. Who is your daddy? Enough. Diana, unable to hold back her anger anymore, threw a punch but somehow stopped her fist right before John's nose. Ha ha ha. John began to laugh, slow at first, but then he laughed louder and louder like a madman. Harley and Maureen both froze where they stood. He leaned forward, teeth bared in a grin that had nothing of humor in it. His laughter disappeared as quickly as it came, and his expression went back to his usual cold self. What's the matter, princess? Were you trying to silence me just now? His voice dropped low, almost a whisper. Is that what this is about? Afraid the truth might spill out? Or tell me, was I wrong in what I said? Can you deny it? Can you swear on your gods that what I just spoke of your people is false? Diana's hand trembled, her fist still hovering in the space between them. Slowly, with visible restraint, she lowered it to the table. Her eyes never left his. No, I do not deny it. I left Themyscira because of those very traditions. I could not accept them. That is why I turned my back on my home. That is why I chose the world of men instead. He sighed and said, So you ran. You ran away from the rot of your own people and left others to suffer it. And now you stand here and dare to tell me you understand suffering? That is hypocrisy at its highest point, princess. And judging by your reaction, you don't like to talk about your past, do you? And just like you, I too don't like to remember all those painful memories. And every time I see you and other heroes, it reminds me of my past. John stood up. Kondak was where I woke up. It was my home, and I saved my home with my own 2 hands from tyrants. Do the same. Save your brothers and sisters from their cruel fate. Stop your sisters from killing any further. Stop their stupid traditions. Then come back. I'll be here. I'll answer your questions. Till then. He pointed toward the door. Diana stood slowly. Her chair scraped against the floor, her eyes still locked on John. She said nothing more. There was nothing left to say. She turned and walked toward the door, each step heavy with pride swallowed and anger held tight. When she opened the door, the cold night air rushed inside. The bell above the frame gave a hollow chime as she disappeared into the street. The silence that followed seemed to stretch forever. John's shoulders lowered. His jaw eased back into that blank, guarded mask. Without another word, he walked back into the kitchen, pushing the swinging door aside. Harley gripped her mop tighter. Maureen hurried to gather the plates left on Diana's table. Both of them worked quickly, almost desperately. Not a single word passed between them. They had never seen John like that. They had never heard that kind of rage in his voice. By the time the clock on the wall struck 10:30, the shop was spotless and locked. Harley and Maureen climbed the stairs together, their footsteps quiet, neither daring to break the uneasy silence. When they reached the apartment above, the table was already set with 3 plates. John was waiting for them. He looked tired, the lines around his eyes deeper than before, his hands resting flat on the table like he had forced himself to sit still. When Harley and Maureen settled in, John let out a long breath. I am sorry for how I acted downstairs, he said. I lost control. Maureen looked down at her plate, then glanced at Harley, who gave her a small nod. With a quiet gulp, Maureen lifted her head. I don't want to make you angry, but you want to know my story? John asked. Only if you want, she said softly. So John told them the story of what happened in Kondak, skipping the part where he got his power. The room stayed quiet, only the ticking clock filling the silence. Maureen's throat tightened. Her blue fingers clenched around her fork. I thought my life was hard, she whispered. I thought losing my mom and living on the streets was the worst thing that could happen. I used my powers to lash out at others. I wanted them to feel pain because I was hurting. But you suffered more than I can imagine. And you used your power to save people instead of hurting them. Harley pushed her chair back. She walked around the table without saying a word. She stopped behind John, bent down and wrapped her arms around him. Her cheek pressed to his shoulder. She held him tight, and for once she had no jokes, no smart remarks, or laughter to fill the air. She just held on. John let out a slow breath and lowered one hand to rest on her arm. Now, don't get mushy with me. The food is getting cold, eat up, he said with a little smile.
2 Uhr nachts.
Winston Bank. Boom! A massive explosion rocked an entire block. Flames were rising from the bank's door as someone blew it up. From inside, a guy walked out, carrying a big duffel bag and swirling fire in his left hand. Ah, no cops today? Bunch of useless pussies. Always late. Well, whatever. Time to enjoy life a bit, he said with an arrogant smirk. The week after the Winston Bank explosion, Dakota City had been plastered with headlines about one man. Francis Stone, better known by the street name Hot Streak, burned his way across half the city. Gas stations, jewelry stores, even a police cruiser or two. He seemed to light things on fire for fun, tossing flames around just to hear people scream. Every night, the news replayed the same shaky phone videos. Francis was laughing with that arrogant grin, his hands glowing like molten iron, cops ducking behind cars while fire hydrants sprayed steam into the air. Static had confronted him once, and for about 2 minutes. The fight ended with Hot Streak blasting Static before flying away while mocking him. The city was rattled. Every corner shop and bodega was bracing for the day Hot Streak might walk in with flames on his palms. Apartment above J&H Pizza. Harley was sprawled upside down on the couch, her legs hooked over the backrest and her pigtails dragging the carpet. She had a bowl of popcorn balanced dangerously on her stomach. Well, ain't that a flaming meatball? Guy's been torching half the city for a week. No one's gotten him yet?
Small.
What's the point of having cops if they ain't gonna play firefighter with attitude? She stuffed a handful of popcorn in her mouth, then pointed at the screen. I say we catch this hot potato and cash in on a fat reward. The mayor's gotta be dangling money for this nut job. Or the cops. Somebody's gotta cough up a reward for talking down Mr. Matchstick. John was sitting on the couch. He arched an eyebrow. A reward. You think the city of Dakota has money sitting around to pay vigilantes? Hey, don't crush the dream before it gets juicy. Harley shot back, twisting upright and landing on her feet in one smooth roll. She even managed to catch the popcorn bowl. She placed the bowl on the table and planted her fists on her hips. Bluebell here's got ice. All she's gotta do is turn Hot Steak into a popsicle. Bing bang boom, we win. Maureen blinked, caught off guard. You want me to turn him into a popsicle? Yeah, Harley replied. Come on, you got the cold thing. He's got the hot thing. It's like cosmic balance or whatever. Plus, if Hot Steak's locked up, there's less chance he decides to barbecue our storefront. That neon sign ain't cheap. Maureen said softly as usual. It's Hot Streak. Hot Steak, Hot Pot, Hot Cross Bun. Whatever. Harley waved a hand. Point is, he's roasting half the town, and nobody's stopping him for good. We swoop in, save the day, and cash in. John finally leaned back, rubbing the bridge of his nose. As much as I hate agreeing with her, she might have a point. If that freak throws a fireball in here, our shop goes up in smoke. Then I have to deal with insurance paperwork. He looked at Harley with deadpan seriousness. Insurance is worse than war. At least in war, you see the bullet coming. With insurance, you fill out 20 forms, wait 6 months, and argue with some jackass on the phone about acts of God versus criminal mischief, and still get denied. It's like trying to claim life insurance without dying. Maureen blinked. That's the comparison you're worried about? Yes, John said flatly. Paperwork is hell. Harley clapped her hands again, this time spinning toward John with a grin so wide it nearly split her face. Oh my God, we should totally do it. We could be like vigilantes, fighting crime in the shadows at night, slinging pizzas in the morning. It's perfect, just like Batman, except way cooler and with better carbs. Maureen blinked at her. You want to be like Batman? Damn right I am, Harley said, pointing dramatically toward the window like a director calling action. Only difference is we don't brood on gargoyles all night. We fight crime, we cash checks, and we still make it back in time to prep dough for the lunch rush. Gotham's got Batman. Dakota's about to get. She paused, tapping her chin. What's a good team name? The Pizza Patrol? The Mozzarella Mob? And we'll workshop it. Oh, we'll also need a cool signal in the sky. Instead of a bat, maybe a giant pizza slice. People look up and go, oh, thank God. The pizza vigilantes are coming. She spread her arms dramatically. Justice served with extra cheese. John rubbed his temple. I regret opening my mouth. Maureen tried not to laugh, but it slipped out. Pizza vigilantes? Yeah. Temporary name for now. Harley pointed at her like she'd just passed a test. You'd be the ice queen of the crew. Freeze-dry fire boy before he melts the city. Me? I'm the brains and muscle and style and comedic relief. Okay. Too many ands. And John, well, John's our brooding boss who growls a lot but secretly cares. He'll be our ultimate trump card who'll step in when we are half-headed. John muttered. Sounds like a nightmare. Nightmare that pays. Harley shot back. Think about it. We kick hotsteaks, but the city calls us heroes. We continue to take down more baddies. Maybe we get medals. Or coupons. Or maybe we finally get that soda machine fixed without me having to bang it with a wrench. Maureen shook her head slowly. I'm not sure this is normal. Sweetie, normal is overrated. I mean, you freeze things with your hands. He sets things on fire with his. You two were literally made to fight. It's destiny. Like peanut butter and jelly, only with more property damage. John leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Destiny or not, Harley's right about one thing. If we don't deal with him, eventually he'll find his way here. Then it won't just be about headlines. It'll be about survival. Ovens, freezers, stock, all gone in a second. We'd be out on the street. Maureen shook her head. I'll do my best. Harley clapped her hands together. All right then. It's settled. We're gonna track down Hot Cross Bun and turn him into a campfire story. John can handle the punching, Bluebell can handle the freezing, and I'll handle the public relations. I'm real good at quoting stuff for reporters. Weren't you the muscle? Maureen said with a raised eyebrow. Details, Harley grinned. John gave her a flat look. Vigilantes and reporters don't mix well. Don't be such a buzzkill. This is gonna be fun. We'll be wearing masks. Harley walked around like a general giving orders. First things first. Outfits. Every good vigilante crew's gotta have a look.
I'm thinking leather jackets.
Maybe matching masks. And utility belts. Definitely utility belts. Mine's gonna have glitter bombs. Maureen lifted a brow. Glitter bombs. Distraction, duh. No one expects a face full of sparkle. John took a deep breath. If we're doing this, we're doing it properly. We find him, we stop him, take him to the cops, and collect the reward if there is any. Then we get out before anyone links it back here. Harley groaned. Ugh, you're no fun. You'd go to Disneyland and lecture Mickey Mouse about tax codes. Maureen bit her lip, then spoke carefully. If I help you, it's not for rewards. I don't care about money. Maybe it'd be good to use my powers for something better than... Her words trailed off, but Harley caught the look in her eyes. Harley softened a little, stepping close and nudging her shoulder. Hey, don't sweat it. We all got our pasts. Right now, you got a chance to do something different. Freeze the bad guys, save the good guys. It's like redemption, but with extra mozzarella. Maureen let out a real laugh. It was small, but it wasn't bitter. John grabbed his jacket from the chair. We start tomorrow. Harley snapped her fingers like she was sealing the plan. Then it's official. The pizza vigilantes are open for business. Our motto: we deliver justice in 30 minutes or less. Dakota Mall, morning. The sliding glass doors parted, and Dakota Mall greeted them with air-conditioned chill and the faint scent of pretzels. Pop song blared faintly overhead. Families pushed strollers. Teenagers clutched shopping bags like trophies. Maureen hesitated at the threshold, hugging the sleeves of Harley's loner hoodie tighter. The hoodie was pink, covered in glittery cartoon cats. Not really her style. This feels strange, she admitted softly. Harley looped her arm around Maureen's shoulders and tugged her forward. Strange? Honey, this is paradise. Behold, a whole cathedral of capitalism, where dreams come true if you've got the cash. Lucky for you, Daddy Warbucks here brought the wallet. She jerked her thumb toward John. John sighed. Stop calling me that. Fine. Sugar Dad. Finish that sentence and you're walking home, John said without looking at her. Maureen tried to hide her laugh. Harley grinned and whispered to her. Totally worth it. He gets this little vein in his forehead when he's cranky. Love it. John ignored them both and strode ahead like a man on a mission. All right, he said. We're buying everything you need. Clothes, shoes, winter coat, maybe a phone. Whatever you're missing. We're doing it all today, so I don't have to be dragged back here every week. Clothes are fine, Maureen said quickly. I don't need much. Harley spun on her heel and pointed dramatically. Incorrect. Girl, you've been raiding my closet for weeks. You've got like 2 shirts and 1 pair of jeans to your name. That's not a wardrobe. That's a hostage situation. We're liberating you. Maureen opened her mouth to argue, but Harley was already marching toward the first store like a general storming the front lines. First stop, clothing store. The store was a bright, modern space with racks of denim and mannequins in crop tops. Pop music thumped. Harley dived in headfirst. She began yanking hangers left and right, piling Maureen's arms with everything from leather jackets to sundresses. Try this, and oh my God, this would look killer on you. Maureen blinked at the growing mountain of fabric. I don't usually wear expensive dresses. Exactly. That's why you gotta try one. Expand your horizons. Come on, live a little. Don't make me start singing songs about leaving your comfort zone. John trailed behind, hands in his pockets, looking like a soldier in enemy territory. He surveyed a rack of ripped jeans with deep suspicion. A clerk approached him. Can I help you find something? Yes, John said deadpan. The exit. The clerk blinked, then quickly retreated. Harley shoved a pile of clothes into Maureen's arms and steered her toward the fitting rooms. All right, Bluebell, it's makeover time. Maureen emerged 10 minutes later in a dark green sweater dress. She tugged at the hem, cheeks flushed. This feels weird. Harley gasped like she just witnessed the birth of a star. Weird? Sweetie, you look like you stepped out of a magazine. John, back me up. John looked up from the rack of jackets he was pretending to inspect. His eyes flicked over Maureen once. It suits you. Maureen's face went pink. She ducked back into the fitting room. Harley elbowed John. Could you be any less dramatic? You're supposed to say something like, wow, you look amazing, Maureen. Let's buy 10 of those. Not, it suits you, like you're picking wallpaper. John gave her a flat look. I don't do pep talks. I said it works. That should be enough. Harley rolled her eyes. He's hopeless. Anyway, Bluebell, try the jeans next. An hour later, by the time they staggered out of the store, John was carrying 3 bags in each hand. Harley had 2 more slung over her shoulder, and Maureen looked dazed. I don't know if I need all this, Maureen murmured. You do, John said. End of discussion. Also, Harley added, you look smokin' in half of it. Don't argue with results. Maureen smiled shyly, the kind of smile that looked rare on her. Second stop, shoes. The shoe store was too cramped thanks to the ongoing new stock and offers. Shelves stacked high, teenagers arguing about sneakers, a kid trying on shoes 2 sizes too big. Harley immediately ran to a display of sequin boots. Oh my God, these scream Harley Quinn. Should I get them? No, John said automatically. You didn't even look. I don't need to look. Meanwhile, Maureen tried on a pair of black ankle boots. She walked a few steps, wobbling slightly. These are nice, but maybe too fancy. Harley crouched dramatically, clutching her heart. Too fancy? Girl, you deserve fancy. After everything you've been through, you should be strutting like a runway model. John inspected the boots with a soldier's eye. Good grip. Solitaire. Practical. Maureen blinked. So, we're buying them? Yes, John said. See? He approves. Harley crowed. If Mr. Broody Pants approves, it's destiny. Buy them. They left with 2 boxes of boots and a pair of sneakers John insisted on. Third stop. Essentials. John dragged them into a department store next. He grabbed socks, jackets, toiletries, phone, and a winter coat, piling them into the cart with military efficiency. John? Harley asked. You're shopping like you're provisioning an army. That's the point, he said. She shouldn't have to worry about this for months. 1 trip. Done. Maureen looked overwhelmed, but there was a faint glow in her eyes. No one had ever stalked her life like this before. Lunch break, food court. The 3 of them finally collapsed at a table in the mall's food court. Harley had a tray stacked with nachos, pizza slices, and a milkshake taller than her head. Maureen had a modest chicken sandwich. John had black coffee and a burger. All right, Harley said with her mouth full. We officially survived the mall wars. How you feelin', Bluebell? Enlightened? Reborn? Like Cinderella after the fairy godmother intervention. Maureen smiled faintly. More like overwhelmed, but in a good way. John sipped his coffee. You'll get used to it. Everyone deserves stability. Harley pointed her straw at him. Look at you. Mr. Softheart pretending he's still Mr. Scary. You're basically a teddy bear with anger issues. John deadpanned. I could strangle you with this straw. See? That's what I'm talking about. Harley laughed. Maureen covered her mouth, hiding her laugh behind her sandwich. Harley leaned closer to her. So, which outfit's your favorite? The green dress? The leather jacket? Or those jeans that made John's eye twitch like he was trying not to compliment you? Maureen turned red. I don't know. Maybe the jacket. Harley grinned like she'd just won the lottery. Knew it. Classic cool girl vibes. With your ice powers? Chef esquisse. Later, back at the apartment. By the time they got home, arms full of bags, Maureen looked like she'd just run a marathon. She sat on the couch surrounded by her new things, touching the soft fabric like she didn't believe it was real. Harley plopped down beside her. See? Told you it'd be fun. You're officially upgraded. John set the last bag down. Remember, these aren't luxuries. They're essentials. Don't feel guilty using them. Maureen looked at him, then at Harley, then back at the pile of clothes. For the first time since they'd taken her in, her smile wasn't small or shy. It was wide and bright. Thank you, she said softly. Both of you. Harley threw an arm around her shoulders. Don't thank us yet, sweetie. Wait till we kick Hotsteak's butt. Then you'll really see how fun this trio can be. John pinched the bridge of his nose. It's Hot Streak. Harley winked at Maureen. Hot steak forever. John, Harley, and Maureen were suited up. Nothing flashy, just practical. Tactical black pants and jackets, plus masks. They looked ready to kick someone's ass. Harley's mask was the standout, though. A scream mask, its white face twisted into an expression of eternal terror. It was simple, sure, but effective. It wasn't some piece of high-tech, stealthy espionage gear. No, it looked like something out of a low-budget horror flick. But that was Harley's style. A touch of flair, with a dash of what the hell thrown in. Some might ask, where did they get those tactical suits and masks? Funny story. Apparently, Harley had liberated it from a drug cartel. How? Well, first she had tossed a bunch of stink grenades into their base. No, not the cheap kind from a novelty shop, the serious, hardcore ones she bought when they first rolled into Dakota City. Then she had, quite literally, blasted their heads off with her signature baseball bat. She didn't kill them, just hit them hard enough to give them a concussion. She then stole their money, clothes, shoes, even sunglasses. In short, everything that was of value inside that base, including the coffee machine. Oh, and the bikes. Yeah, she stole 3 of them. Super bikes. The kind that looked like they could outrun an entire police squad if needed. Of course, she didn't ask for permission. She just saw them and thought, mine now. No, our now. There was a big truck in the warehouse where she found those bikes and loaded it up with all the stolen items and bikes, then drove off. Don't ask how I got the stink grenades, Harley had said earlier while tossing a bundle of them into her backpack. When you roll into Dakota City, you gotta be prepared for everything, including weirdos who might be armed with hot sauce and are definitely not playing by the rules. John raised an eyebrow but said nothing. It was Harley after all. How did you even... Maureen began, glancing at the new bikes. Where did you find those? She can't ride. So she rode with Harley. Harley promised to teach her how to ride like a pro. Well, when you're a woman of many talents, Harley said with a mischievous grin, you can get anything from stink bombs to rocket launchers. Maureen could have sworn she saw a glimmer of mischief in John's eyes too, but she couldn't quite figure out if it was a joke or a warning. In any case, the 3 were suited up and ready. Present time. Harley had hacked into the local police radio earlier in the day. Now, under the cover of night, they were camped out in a narrow alley near the Eastern Mall. According to the news reports, Hotstreak had a habit of selecting locations with a history of high sales or new stock arrivals. The Eastern Mall was prime real estate for arson. The chances of Hotstreak stealing and burning down that mall were sitting at a solid 90%. So, who's excited? Harley asked, bouncing on her heels and swinging her baseball bat in the air. The flickering streetlight above them made her look like she was constantly about to explode into some ridiculous action sequence. And maybe she was. Maureen couldn't help but tug on the edges of her jacket, adjusting it nervously. I think I'm more nervous than excited, she admitted, looking at the mall. But I'm ready. Suddenly, a streak of fire shot across the night sky before it slammed into the pavement with a loud crash. Hotstreak had arrived, and he wasted no time making an entrance. Here we go, John muttered, already moving. Harley, never one to waste an opportunity, was the first to spring into action. With a wild grin on her face, she grabbed the glitter grenade from her backpack and threw it. The grenade hit the pavement in front of Hotstreak, exploding in a burst of sparkling glitter that sparkled like fireworks and filled the air with blinding light. For a split second, Hotstreak was disoriented, his eyes squinting in surprise as the glitter rained down on him. What the hell is this shit? Ark, it's everywhere. He stumbled back, growling, trying to blink the bright lights out of his vision. But it didn't last long. Harley didn't waste any time. She swooped low and slammed the bat's handle on his toes multiple times. Ark, my damn toes! Hotstreak let out a shriek of pain, hopping back on one foot. He might have been fire-wielding chaos incarnate, but even he wasn't immune to a good toe smash. Ah! Harley laughed, striking another blow to his foot before landing a brutal punch square in his groin. Special move. Nutcracker. Hi-ya. Oh! Hotstreak howled, doubled over in pain. He was so distracted that he didn't even realize Maureen and John had entered the fray until it was too late. Both of them looked at the situation and weren't sure of who to help. John's left eye twitched under his mask as he watched Harley kicking Hotstreak as he rolled on the ground, grabbing his crotch. So, this wasn't the plan. Maureen mumbled. Nope, John agreed. But you'd better get ready. That won't keep that brat down for much longer. The angrier he gets, the unstable his power becomes. Hotstreak roared as he somewhat recovered from the assault on his toes, though his groin was still throbbing, and in a flash, he twisted his body, releasing an explosive blast of fire in all directions. The air around him shimmered with intense heat, warping the world into a mirage. Oopsie daisy. Harley, already well practiced in the art of dodging insanity, backflipped twice, her scream mask flying in the air like some nightmarish flag. She landed effortlessly on her feet, immediately doing a dramatic spin on her toes like she was on a Broadway stage before rushing toward John and Maureen. "He's all yours, Bluebell," Harley shouted, her voice dripping with excitement. "Go show this fire spitter what real heat looks like. Wait, no, not heat. Ice." John, ever the realist, patted Maureen's back. "Don't hold back," he said, his tone serious but encouraging. "You've got this." Maureen glanced at the firestorm Hotstreak had just unleashed, feeling her heart rate skyrocket. She clenched her fists, the energy inside her swelling. The temperature around the place lowered rapidly. She had to push her nerves aside, focus on her power, and make sure she didn't let it slip out of control. This was her moment. "Well, look at this, we got a damn smuff in the fight," Hotstreak sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. He noticed her exposed blue hands. "What, you think you're gonna stop me with that little ice power of yours?" "Goo. Real cute." Maureen's eyes narrowed. There was no way she was gonna let that slide. She clenched her fists, the frost building on her palms. Her skin tingled with the rising cold. "No one is allowed to call me names," she muttered under her breath, the ice forming in her hands. "But Harley," before Hotstreak could react, she shot a bolt of ice at him, the blast traveling like a jagged arrow. He barely had time to react before the stream of freezing power collided with his chest. "Whoa, what the hell?" Hotstreak howled as the ice cracked along his body, the shock of cold making him stumble back. But he quickly recovered, flame bursting from his hands as he let out a snarl. "Oh, you're asking for it now, Smurfette. I think she just told you where to shove that attitude, hothead." Harley piped up, her voice ringing out like she was calling the shots in a wrestling match. She had taken up her usual post on the side, twirling her baseball bat like she was ready for a grand finale. "And trust me, that ice blast? Only the beginning. Wait for the real snowstorm." Hotstreak spat, his fire flaring higher. "You think I'm scared of a little frostbite? I'm fire incarnate, you overgrown snow cone." Maureen didn't hesitate. With a roar, she thrust her hands forward and released another blast of ice so intense it hissed as it met the air. A sheet of frost shot forward, aiming straight for Hotstreak's feet. "Not today, punk," Hotstreak growled, trying to leap out of the way, but the ice tracked him, freezing his legs to the ground. His fiery aura intensified in a desperate bid to melt the ice, but it was too late. Maureen didn't give him a second to breathe. "You might want to start cooling off," she shot back, her voice cool as a winter morning. With a speed that surprised even herself, Maureen slid to the side, launching an icy whip from her hand. It cracked through the air like a chain of frost and caught Hotstreak by the neck, yanking him to the ground. He crashed with a painful thud, flames sputtering in all directions as he struggled to get up. "Hot steak, you better pay attention," Harley sang from the sidelines, tossing her bat into the air and catching it like a circus performer. "You're getting out-iced here, and if you don't stop that, it might be the last time you ever roast anyone with your little tantrums." Hotstreak growled, his body buckling under the pressure of the freezing chain that held him down. His fiery form flickered, but he had enough firepower to ignite himself once again, burning the ice off his legs. "You really think you've got me, Ice Princess?" he sneered, his hands seething with fire as he stood up, flames crackling from his body like a furnace. Maureen wasn't about to give him an opening. As his flames flared up, she slammed her hands together and summoned an explosion of ice spikes that shot up from the ground like jagged mountains. Hotstreak barely had time to dodge, but a few of the icy projectiles scraped across his arms, leaving frostbite-like burns where they touched. "Ouch!" he hissed, stepping back quickly. "Okay, that's it. You really want to play hardball?" "I'm not playing," Maureen shot back. She raised both hands to the sky, summoning a blizzard, swirling around them like a miniature snowstorm. Ice and snow whirled like a cyclone, obscuring Hotstreak's vision. Holy shit! Hotstreak screamed, flailing around in the storm of frost. What kind of circus is this? Just the good kind, Harley cheered. She's got him in a frosty situation now, folks. Who's ready for the next round of this? 'Cause I'm thinking, Maureen's about to turn this heat wave into a chill fest. Hotstreak staggered through the storm, his fire flickering erratically as the ice made it harder for him to keep his flame stable. He let out a frustrated scream. That's it. No more games. He thrust his hands forward, releasing an explosion of heat that sent a wave of fire toward her. But Maureen had no intention of giving him the chance. As the fire raced toward her, she froze the moisture in the air, extinguishing the fire in midair. But Hotstreak wasn't done. He sent out multiple blasts of flames through the blizzard, but it was all useless as Maureen extinguished them with ease. And then, as Hotstreak's fiery blasts began to sputter and grow weaker, the cold has seeped into his body, interfering with his power. He tried to summon more flames, but couldn't feel anything but cold. His eyes were burning from excessive cold, and his mouth was parched. He even got a couple of frostbites. Dang it! He could barely speak. Maureen saw her opening. She slammed her palms down hard on the pavement, and the ice responded. It surged outward from her touch, covering the ground beneath her, reaching up to encase Hotstreak in a freezing tomb. In the blink of an eye, the once invincible Firestarter found himself trapped, his arms and legs frozen stiff in jagged sheets of ice. Well, Harley drawled from the sidelines, twirling her bat like she was in the middle of a dance routine. I think we found Hotstreak's weakness. Frostbite. Hotstreak struggled against the ice, but it was useless. This is bullshit. Hotstreak howled, his flames flickering like a dying ember. You can't just trap me in here like some popsicle. Maureen stood tall, her breath visible in the frigid air. Yeah, well, I can't let you destroy my new home. Okay, Harley said, taking a few steps closer, her grin wide as ever. We've got ourselves a frozen fire hazard. Now, She narrowed her eyes. Out of nowhere, a pitch-black shadow appeared before Hotstreak. An eerie voice came from it. Looks like you could use a hand. Then it wrapped around Hotstreak's ice cage like shadow whips and then pulled him into the ground. The trio rushed, and there was nothing. Teleportation, John mumbled. Another bang, baby, huh? He tried to remember his old memories from the Static Shock series, but most of it was hazy, like he was a kid when he saw the animated series. But he remembers this annoying shadowy freak of nature. Eben. Arg! Darn you! Harley yelled, slamming her bat on the ground. Now, how the hell am I going to get my reward and free parking tickets? Give me back my Hotstreak. John patted Maureen's back and said, You did great. He won't be annoying anyone for a long time. Let's get out of here before the cops arrive and misunderstand the situation, John said as he grabbed Harley and put her up on his shoulder. He knew that she was going to yell and curse on that spot and might even dig a hole just to check if there was an underground bunker there. So, the sensible thing to do at that moment was to carry her like a sack of potatoes instead of calming her down. Harley kicked her legs back and forth, her voice rising in frustration. Seriously, who the hell invited Mr. Shadowy McTeleportation over here? She grumbled, smacking John's back with her free hand. I was this close to getting my parking tickets and maybe even some sweet pizza after this. And now, poof, gone. All because of some freak in a cloak. Calm down, we'll get him someday, John said. It's all right, we'll get him next time, Maureen said, clenching her fist. H.A. Harley let out a long sigh. My broken dreams. She made a mental note to smash that shadowy creature's nuts with a barbed wire zombie killer baseball bat. One day, 2 months later, with the cash Harley recovered from her little stink bomb heist, John had expanded the business. 3 more pizza joints opened across the city, each buzzing with new hires running ovens and counters. Delivery scooters painted in the same bright red and white logo zipped down streets. They rebranded the name from J&H Pizza to J&H&M Pizza. It wasn't just John and Harley's thing anymore. Maureen had earned her place. The girl who once looked at the world like it would crush her had become part of it. She worked hard, kept pace with Harley's antics, and slowly carved her smile into the life they were building. Then came the ice cream. That was Harley's idea, but Maureen's power made it real. J&H&M started pushing out tubs of ice cream and popsicles under their brand. The flavors were good, and so were the quality and quantity. Harley pitched it like she was selling gold, but John was the one who undercut the competition with cheap prices and used the limited stock tactic. The result was simple. They ate the lower market alive. Bodegas, corner stores, and even supermarkets carried J&H&M popsicles. Kids clutched them walking home from school. Parents bought boxes in bulk, and every freezer in the city seemed to have their logo stamped inside. John had called it good business. Harley called it world domination with sprinkles. And Maureen? She just worked the machine in the back, freezing crates of popsicles in minutes with one sweep of her hand, always smiling a little at the thought that this was her contribution. Something sweet, something people wanted. Life wasn't all ovens and ice, though. Harley had taken it upon herself to teach Maureen the one thing she thought every self-respecting vigilante pizza girl needed: how to ride a bike. Started rough. Maureen stalled the engine. She wobbled. She nearly toppled into a trash can on the first day. Harley, of course, laughed until her ribs hurt, but she never let the girl quit. "Come on, Bluebell," she had shouted over the roar of engines one night. Both of them parked at the edge of an empty lot. Bikes just like life. You fall, you scrape your ass, and then you get back on until you stop looking like a baby deer on roller skates. 2 weeks later, Maureen was leaning into turns with a grin plastered across her face. By the end of the month, she and Harley were flying down Dakota's streets side by side, engines screaming, cutting through traffic like streaks of light. Delivery time dropped in half. Their reputation soared. Fastest damn delivery in the city. One customer bragged on the news after a clip of Harley and Maureen weaving through cars went viral. 30 minutes or less. More like 10. So J&H&M Pizza became more than just food. It became speed, ice, and firecracker energy. And in the middle of it all, John watched with arms crossed and that same tired frown that didn't fool Harley or Maureen for a second. He was proud and happy. As for the city, the arson and theft slightly decreased after Hot Shriek disappeared. The city breathed a little easier. The mayor tried to make it look as if he were the one who stopped the flaming menace, and the press rolled with it. Politics. But underneath the good press, there were whispers. Cops muttered about clusters of bang babies disappearing off the streets. Known troublemakers vanished. Old crews were going quiet. Rumor had it someone was scooping them up one by one and building a crew too organized to be a coincidence. Nobody knew who. The only hint was the shadowy figure seen near abandoned warehouses. Harley called it Dakota's Bang Baby Boy Band Reunion Tour. John didn't laugh. J&H&M didn't stop their night work either. The police scanners stayed hot. Whenever a robbery broke out or some low-level powered punk tried to shake down a store, the trio geared up. They weren't perfect. Sometimes they arrived late, sometimes they just scared people enough to scatter. But word was spreading. The pizza vigilantes weren't just a gimmick anymore. They were a problem for anyone thinking of making easy money. Maureen had grown into it. She was still nervous before every fight, but she was really awesome when freezing the goons. Harley had turned her nerves into a running gag, calling her Snow Jitters. But there was pride in every joke. John didn't throw himself into the spotlight, but he was the one dragging them back to the alleys when things got too loud, kept their gear maintained, and reminded Harley that cops weren't fans of masked vigilantes smashing heads, even if they left free pizza behind. Life balanced between normal and insane. In the day, they were a fast food empire with sprinkles. At night, they were shadows chasing louder shadows. And always, in the background, the rumor grew. New gang forming. Something big coming. Something that made the police nervous enough to triple patrols near the docks. One night, after a long shift and a quiet run, John sat on the roof of their first shop with Harley on one side and Maureen on the other. The streets below hummed with traffic, neon buzzing against the night. "You feel it?" he asked quietly. "Feel what?" Harley chewed on a cherry popsicle, already halfway melted. "That it's about to get worse before it gets better." Harley snorted. "Please. Worse is my middle name. Well, actually, it's Francis, but you get the point." 9 p.m. A few days later, the shop was winding down. The ovens hummed low, the air smelled like melted cheese and oregano, and only 3 jocks were left at a corner booth trading jokes between mouthfuls of slices. Harley leaned against the counter, phone in hand, eyes glued to Angry Birds. Every time she nailed a level, she muttered, "Boom, headshot," under her breath. John was wiping down the prep station when the printer chirped. A late order. He tugged the slip free and froze as he read it. "For large pizzas. 1 extra cheese and pepperoni, please. 1 farmhouse veggie with extra olives. 1 loaded with hot sauce, jalapenos and red pepper flakes. And 1 with peanut butter and jelly." His left eye twitched. Slowly, he looked at Maureen, who had just finished stacking boxes at the counter. She leaned over to read, and her nose wrinkled. "Peanut butter and jelly on pizza?" she whispered. "That should be illegal." "Yeah," John muttered, though the absurdity wasn't what made his pulse spike. Something from his other life rattled in the back of his skull, memories of watching Saturday morning cartoons as a kid. For strange orders, peanut butter and jelly, hot sauce madness, extra olives. His hands clenched the slip. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If he was right, this wasn't just some weird stoner's order. This meant there were 4 very specific customers in Dakota, which meant chaos wasn't far behind. Those turtles always chase their arch nemesis, Shredder. Which means there is a chance that Shredder is in town with his ninja gang, and these recent rumors must be related to them. But if he joins hands with that shadow freak Eben and his gang of bang babies, this will get nasty pretty fast. Still, he got to work. He made each pizza exactly as written, layering the spicy one so heavy it almost smoked, spreading peanut butter and jelly that he had Maureen bring from upstairs. Harley wandered over and raised an eyebrow when she saw the lineup. "Okay, I've seen freaky cravings, but this? Who in their right mind wants Skippy on a pie?" "Don't worry about it," John said, sliding the last box shut. Maureen frowned. "Shouldn't we call this in or something? This doesn't feel normal." John stacked the boxes, his jaw tight. "I'll take this one myself." Harley squinted at him. "Since when do you do deliveries?" "Since now." He pulled on his jacket. "Lock up after closing." "I won't be long." He balanced the boxes in one hand and went out. 3rd Street Avenue. Leuven Park was almost empty, just a wide stretch of grass and a few scattered benches. At this hour, only stray cats and dogs kept the place alive. But in the darker corner near the swings, where shadows moved. They kept low, voices hushed, but the hunger in their tone was impossible to miss. "Man, I could eat a whole cow right now," one whispered, holding his stomach. "Keep it down," another snapped. His voice had weight to it, calm and sharp. "We don't need anyone recognizing us. We're supposed to stay ghosts." "Ghosts don't starve," the third muttered. "I swear if this pizza guy takes long, I'll chew on my own arm." The fourth gave a low laugh, tapping out a rhythm on the pavement with his knuckles. The sound built into a steady beat. One by one, the others joined in, stomping lightly or snapping fingers. One voice rose low and hungry, stomach rumbling. "Feel it twist and shout. Need that pizza now before I black out." Another chimed in, sharper, snapping fingers to the beat. "Extra cheese, pepperoni, stack it tall. Feed the crew quick, or we eat the stone wall." The third voice cracked in with a laugh, his tone playful, almost mocking. Veggies on the side, yeah, don't be late. Olives, mushrooms, pile it on my plate. The fourth voice cut through, calm but heavy, keeping them grounded. Stay low, keep quiet, shadows in the night. Money on the bench, keep the deal tight. We eat, we split, then we fade from sight. No names, no faces, no streetlight fight. Together, the four let the rhythm build, overlapping lines, their hunger shaping into a chant that echoed through the empty park. Hungry, hungry, can't you see? Pizza man's the MVP. Hot and ready, crust divine. Drop it quick, the cash is mine. A few feet away on a wooden bench sat the payment. A stack of bills was pinned under a stone so the wind wouldn't take it. The shadows kept their eyes on it, making sure the deal was clear. Money for food, nothing more, nothing less. Crackle. A lightning bolt crackled in the sky and seemed to hit somewhere. The turtles looked up. Lightning in the clear sky? That's weird, Donnie mumbled. A few minutes later, John's boots crunched against the gravel as he crossed the dim park. The pizzas balanced easily in one hand. The park was dead quiet except for the faint buzz of a lamp above the lone bench. On it, a rock pinned down a stack of bills. From the shadows, a voice rasped low. Place the pizzas on the bench, take the cash and walk away. John set the boxes on the bench, took the cash, and tucked it into his jacket. Then he asked, "What are the turtles doing in Dakota City? Sightseeing? Or Shredder?" There was a moment of silence. Then four shapes burst from the shadows, hitting the ground hard and circling him. Their shells glinted faintly in the lamplight. Each one taller and bulkier than John remembered from cartoons and comics. These weren't kids' mascots. These were warriors. He turned his head slightly, pointing a finger as he spoke their names. Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, and Michelangelo. You're bigger than I imagined. The tallest, carrying twin katanas, narrowed his eyes. Leo, calm but cautious. You know too much. Who are you? He narrowed his eyes. Raphael stepped forward, red mask framing his scowl. His sais glinted in the dark as he leveled one toward John. Speak. You with Shredder? How do you know us? John's expression never flickered. That doesn't matter. What matters is why you're in Dakota City, and I want to know why. Rapha's lip curled. Wrong answer. He twirled a sai in his hand and put it back into the waist holder. I'll beat it out of you, then you can talk. Go ahead, John said with his usual calm expression. Do your worst. Wait, Raph. Leo sensed something unusual and a sense of danger from the man before him. And before he could stop Raph, he snarled and lunged. His fist shot forward in a brutal hook, connected square with John's jaw. Crack. The impact cracked the air, dust kicking up around their feet. John didn't even blink. He stood there like a pillar with zero damage and looked at Raph as if he were expecting more and were now disappointed. That's it? You hit like a kid. Try harder? Or would you like to eat first to get some energy? Raph growled. You arrogant son of a... He swung again. Faster, harder. John caught the fist in one hand, fingers locking around the turtle's knuckles like a vice. What power! Raph strained to pull free. Better, John murmured, his grip unyielding. Then he shoved. The force sent Raph skidding backward, feet grinding furrows in the dirt until he slammed into a tree. Bark splintered. Raph! Mikey shouted, nunchucks already whirling. He spun into the air, flipping over John's head, and snapped both nunchucks down at once. Wood and chain cracked against John's shoulders. John didn't move. Goo. He reached up and caught one of the chains mid-swing. Oh! Mikey's eyes went wide as John yanked him out of the air and slammed him onto the ground with a bone-rattling thud. Dust sprayed up around them. No one hurts my brothers. Donnie came in next, bow staff leveled. He didn't charge recklessly. Instead, he slid forward, jabbing fast and precise, aiming for joints and pressure points. The staff snapped against John's ribs, wrist, and thigh, each strike landing sharply. John yawned as those attacks were meaningless. They echoed like steel on stone. Donnie's brow furrowed. What the hell are you made of? Doesn't matter. What matters is that your leader told you to stop, yet you kept charging in blindly. And for the record, I got anger issues and unresolved traumas that still haunt me in my sleep. So, I'm gonna vent it all by beating the shit out of you all, John said. He seized the staff mid-strike and pulled, dragging Donnie forward. Donnie rolled with it, twisting and kicking upward. His heel clipped John's jaw, snapping his head back slightly. John chuckled. Almost. With a flick of his arm, he hurled Donnie across the grass. The turtle rolled and landed in a crouch, already resetting. He then looked at Leo. They still have a long way to go. That they do, Leo agreed. Like, why attack someone without talking first? John said with a little shrug. So, he pointed his finger at Leo. Come at me. Show me your ninjutsu and whatnots. Leonardo slid 1 foot forward, drawing both katanas. His posture was precise, his shoulders square, eyes locked on John. The calm was there, but so was the pressure. A leader's weight. He had watched his brothers get tossed like rag dolls and felt the pulse of danger rolling off the stranger. But he couldn't back down. You've made your point, Leo said evenly. His blades glinted beneath the lamp's buzz. But we're not leaving without knowing who you really are. John tilted his head, lips curving into a faint smirk. Then come find out. Let's see what the fearless leader of the Ninja Turtles can do. Leo exploded forward, faster than his size should have allowed. His katanas crossed in a flash, slicing downward in an X-strike. Sparks flew when the blades met John's forearms. The sound rang like steel clashing against stone. Leo's eyes widened, but he didn't falter. He spun on his heel, twisting into a sweeping slash at John's waist. John caught the blade between 2 fingers. He didn't even flinch. Sharp, he muttered, flicking his hand. The katana wrenched free from Leo's grip, tumbling through the air before it stabbed into the dirt behind him. Leo didn't hesitate. He pressed forward with his second sword, stabbing toward John's chest. John sidestepped, the point whistling past his ribs. In that instant, Leo used the momentum to flip forward, slashing upward with a rising arc that could have gutted a car in 2. John let the strike connect. The blade screeched against his skin, leaving not a mark. He sighed. You're disciplined, controlled, but you're holding back. You want answers, don't you? Leo jumped back, reclaiming his fallen sword in one fluid motion. His eyes never left John. You're strong, stronger than anything we've fought before. I can tell that this won't be easy, but we don't quit. Good. John planted his feet, aura crackling faintly with golden sparks. Then don't quit. Show me what the 4 of you can do together. Stop coming at me like amateurs. Come at me with full strength. Mikey staggered to his feet, clutching his nunchucks with a sheepish grin. Guys? I think Rock Solid here just told us to go full combo mode. Raph cracked his neck, still rubbing the shoulder that had slammed into the tree. Finally, I was getting bored of watching him shrug us off. Donnie twirled his bow staff, planting it in the dirt. Then we go coordinated. No holding back. Leo nodded.
Shell Shock Formation.
On me. The brothers moved instantly, years of practice syncing them like gears in a clock. Mikey bounded to the left, spinning his nunchucks with wild rhythm. Donnie slid. Raph stormed straight up the middle, fists clenched tight, while Leo circled wide with his blades ready. John cracked his knuckles. Finally, Raph hit first. He launched forward with a spinning kick, Sai flashing in his other hand. John leaned back, letting the kick whistle past his nose. Before Raph could reset, Mikey was already there, swinging his nunchucks low toward John's knees. John stepped over the chain, but that gave Donnie the angle he wanted. His bow staff came down like a hammer, slamming across John's shoulders. The sound echoed like wood striking iron. John didn't budge, but his grin widened. Leo seized the opening. He surged in from behind, crossing both katanas in a twin slash at John's back. Sparks screamed as the blades raked across indestructible flesh. John pivoted, catching both swords in his hands. The energy around him flared gold, casting harsh light over the grass. "You're coordinated. I'll give you that," John said. Then he shoved outward, releasing a blast of lightning that blasted all 4 turtles back. They hit the dirt, skidding and rolling, but scrambled to their feet without hesitation. Again, Leo barked. They came in harder this time. "Make some way, Mikey on the way." Mikey vaulted off Donnie's back, flipping high into the air and raining down spinning chains like a helicopter. "Take this." Raph followed with a diving shoulder, his shell slamming into John's chest with the force of a battering ram. For the first time, John shifted back half a step from the heavy impact. "Better," he murmured. Donnie slid low, sweeping John's ankles with his staff. John didn't move, but Mikey's chains wrapped around his arm mid-swing. Leo dove in again, slashing faster and faster, aiming for pressure points. Together, they moved like a team, every strike chaining into the next. John let them. He let the hits land, sparks flying, wood cracking, steel ringing. For anyone else, it would have been overwhelming. For him, it was fun. He stood amidst the fury like a mountain. Finally, he clenched his fists and growled. "My turn." He twisted, ripping Mikey off the chain like pulling a weed from the ground. Mikey yelped as John flung him sideways, rolling across the grass until he hit a bench and splintered it. Donnie thrust his staff at John's ribs, but John grabbed it, snapped it in half with 2 fingers, and punched Donnie, sending him flying a few feet. Raph roared and tackled John from the side. They slammed into a tree, bark exploding around them. Raph swung his fists like hammers, each blow rattling the park with thunder. John let him rage, then caught both fists mid-swing. With a grunt, he lifted Raph off his feet and hurled him skyward. The turtle crashed down into the fountain 30 feet away, water spraying in every direction. That left Leo. He slashed, stabbed, feinted, rolled. His style was almost perfect. John parried with his bare hands, each deflection sounding like stone striking steel. Their movements blurred under the lamp's glow, sparks flying with every clash. "You are good," John said, blocking another stab. "But..." He caught Leo's wrist, squeezing until the katana slipped free. "It ain't enough. You think too much before attacking." Leo growled, twisting free with his other sword still ready. "And you talk too much." He lunged, blade driving toward John's throat. John's hand snapped up. He caught the sword tip between thumb and forefinger. Sparks shrieked as the blade shuddered against unbreakable skin. In a blur, John twisted the sword, yanked Leo forward, and planted a palm against his chest. A golden crackle surged. Leo shot backward like a cannonball, slamming into the dirt beside his brothers. All 4 turtles groaned, struggling back to their feet, battered but unbroken. They regrouped, standing side by side, weapons raised. John crossed his arms. "Not bad. That was somewhat better. But against Shredder? Not good enough." Raph spat dirt. "The hell are you? Some kind of coach?" John smirked. "Well, I trained Harley and Maureen on how to make pizza and garlic bread. Does that count?" Leo straightened, breathing hard but steady. His eyes narrowed. "You knew our names. You knew about Shredder. That means you know what's coming." "Knowing the names doesn't mean I know what's coming," John said. The pizza boxes were lying on the ground, but still intact. "Eat. You'll need your strength. And when you're ready, we'll talk." Mikey dusted himself off, eyeing John with awe and nerves. "Bro, we just went all out and he treated it like warm-up stretches." Donnie adjusted his cracked staff with a grimace. "I don't think he's the enemy. He had many chances to critically injure us and kill us, but he simply brushed us off." Raph growled, "I don't like him." Leo kept his gaze on John, cautious, calculating. Are you the protector of this city? John said as he stretched his arms and looked at his torn clothes. Nope, I'm just a pizza guy who wants to live in peace. If Shredder is in town, it means chaos, and it might affect my business. Besides, I got a surprise birthday party planned for Harley this week. I can take the loss, but there is no way I'll let some ninja freak spoil my girl's birthday party. I even ordered a giant cake. What if that freak blows up the shop? So speak up. What are you boys doing in Dakota? The smell of melted cheese filled the air as the turtles finally tore open the boxes. Donnie grabbed the peanut butter and jelly first, stuffing a slice into his mouth without hesitation. Dude, this is like a high-tech car and a supercomputer had a baby. His words came out muffled, sauce dripping down his chin. Raph grumbled but yanked a slice of the hot sauce special, chomping into it like it was a challenge and trying not to breathe out fire. Not bad. Mikey took a slice of extra cheese and pepperoni. All right. He took a bite. Hum. Leo sat quietly, a slice in hand, but his eyes stayed on John. You wanted answers, he said finally. Here's the truth. The others slowed their eating, listening. 2 weeks ago, Shredder made his move. We were tracking one of his squads that tried to steal toxic chemicals from a lab in New York. It looked like a standard raid, nothing new. But while we were away, Shredder and the rest of the Foot Clan attacked our home. Rafa's grip on his slice tightened. Cowards. They waited until we weren't there. Leo nodded. When we got back, Master Splinter was barely alive. He'd fought them off as long as he could, but he was poisoned. It wasn't anything we'd ever seen. His breathing was shallow, his body was shaking, and even Donnie's tech couldn't stabilize him for long. Donnie set down his slice, face tight. I've analyzed the toxin 100 times. It's not natural. The compound is advanced, engineered. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. Whoever made it wanted it to stick and spread fast. I can slow it down, but I can't stop it. Which means, Raph growled. The one that made it also made the cure. Leo looked at John squarely. And every lead we've chased points here. The Foot Clan moved supplies through Dakota in the last month. And just last week, another new shipment entered the city but never got out. Then Donnie hacked into the city's security system and found footage of Karai and Antonio Puzzarelli. Which means there is a 90% chance that Shredder's here, somewhere in your city, and he's the only one who knows how to reverse this poison. Raph clenched his fists, the slice of pizza in his hand crushed beyond recognition. When we find him, I don't care what it takes. He's gonna pay for what he did. The park went quiet for a moment, save for Mikey chewing happily on his second slice. Man, poison, ninjas, Thunder Guy, and now pizza. This city's got everything. John sighed. So your enemy is in my city planning God knows what. And if he's with Eben, then things are about to get messy. Maureen's face flickered through his mind, Harley's grin right behind it. The thought of Shredder causing chaos and spoiling his plans for Harley's birthday made his knuckles itch. All right, find his location and let me know. I'll capture him alive for you. You boys won't have to lift a finger. Sounds good, he asked. Raph wiped sauce from his chin and let out a sharp laugh. You think you can just stroll in, grab Shredder, and hand him over like it's a takeout order? You've got guts, I'll give you that. But you don't know what you're dealing with. He jabbed a thumb at his own chest. We've gone toe-to-toe with that monster for years, and even together we barely keep up. Now even our master got hurt. He's stronger than any of us. Now he's got an army. Mutants, metas, freaks juiced up on chemicals we can't even name. You're just some pizza guy with unbreakable skin and a spark show. Strong, no doubt. But against Shredder and his army, you won't last a minute. Donnie nodded. Raph not wrong. Shredder doesn't just fight with blades and muscle. He's mastered toxins, hallucinogens, and neuropoisons. He can cloud your mind, turn your senses against you. All that strength you've got means nothing if your nervous system is compromised. Once his venom gets into your bloodstream, it's game over. The turtles were sitting in a loose circle on the grass now, pizza boxes open between them. Raph leaned forward, glaring hard, as if daring John to argue. Donnie tapped a finger against his knee, analytical even while eating. Mikey was halfway through his third slice, watching with wide eyes, curious how John would react. John stayed where he was, one shoulder pressed against the tree trunk. His arms were crossed. Golden sparks cracked faintly across his knuckles before fading. Poison, mind tricks, an army. His voice was even. Sounds like a Tuesday, Raph growled. You're not listening. We're telling you this isn't some street brawl. Shredder is lethal. John tilted his head. I didn't say he wasn't. I'm saying it doesn't matter if he's lethal, has poison, and an army. It's all useless before the power of the gods. He opened his palm as lightning danced over and around his fingers. What does scare me is letting him run wild in my city, near my people. That's not happening. He then pointed a finger at the ground. The lightning arcs shot out of his finger and carved a phone number on the ground. You find Shredder or anyone related to him, call that number. You want to save your master? Don't rush in without me. All right, we'll call you, Leo said as he stood up and walked to John. He clenched his right fist and pointed toward John. Thank you for lending us a hand. John fist bumped him. Thank me when I capture Shredder. Oh, and don't forget to leave a review for the pizzas. With that, he walked out of the park, got on his delivery scooter, and drove away. A few minutes later, another lightning bolt crashed somewhere in the city, not far from the park. A few minutes later, meanwhile, the night sky over Dakota buzzed faintly with static energy. Virgil Hawkins, better known as Static, cruised on his trademark flying disc, the Static Saucer. The city spread out below him, quiet in patches but alive with distant traffic and the occasional bark of a dog. With Richie busy at a family wedding, the patrol felt lonelier than usual. A sharp crack split the silence. A bolt of lightning lashed down, jagged and blinding. Even though the sky was clear, Virgil slowed, eyebrows furrowing. Lightning in a cloudless sky? He muttered. Virgil leaned into his saucer and shot toward the strikes, scanning rooftops and alleys. By the time he reached the sites, there was nothing. No scorch marks, no smoke, just quiet streets. Hovering above an intersection, he spotted someone familiar. The pizza guy, John, the owner of J&H&M Pizza, was driving his delivery scooter along like nothing had happened. Oh man, now I'm craving some nice pizza. He flew around the block looking everywhere. Weird. Another bang baby with powers like mine, he thought. He circled the block once more, searching for any trace of residual energy, but came up empty. Deciding not to waste time chasing ghosts, Virgil continued his patrol. His saucer hummed low as he skimmed above rooftops and streetlights. That was when he noticed movement near the edge of town. Ace Chemicals, a cluster of figures dressed in black, scaled the fence with practiced precision. They moved like shadows, their faces hidden beneath masks. Virgil frowned and dropped altitude, sparks buzzing faintly across his hands. Well, that can't be good. He zipped down and landed in front of them, sparks arcing in warning as he blocked their path. Sorry, fellas. Facilities closed. No tours after hours. One of the figures broke from the group without a word. Fast. Too fast. The ninja lunged straight at Virgil, fists wrapped in cloth and striking like iron. Virgil barely had time to raise an electromagnetic shield before the blow cracked against it. Crackle. He was pushed backward from a single punch. The rest of the masked intruders slipped through the fence and vanished toward the chemical plant's interior, while their comrade kept pressing Virgil with ruthless, silent strikes. The ninja was so fast that it looked as good as teleportation, and he was barely dodging and blocking the attacks. Okay, hold up, Static gritted out as he blocked another strike. Sparks lit the night around them. I fought a lot of bang babies, but this is new. Ninjas? What are you doing in Dakota? The silent fighter didn't answer, spinning into a kick that sent Virgil crashing into the nearest light post. Virgil groaned and pulled himself upright, brushing grit from his jacket as sparks crawled over his hands. The masked fighter flipped gracefully through the air and landed lightly on the cracked pavement. For the first time, Virgil heard her voice, sharp, cold, and unmistakably female. "Don't get in my way, kid. Leave." She turned on her heel, steps measured and calm, like she hadn't even broken a sweat. "Wait," Virgil called, raising his voice across the street. His saucer hummed to life beneath his feet. "What are you ninjas planning? What are you doing in Dakota?" The woman stopped mid-step. She tilted her head just enough for Virgil to catch the curve of a smirk beneath her mask. "Only the strongest has the right to ask questions. Go home, kid." Electricity flared around Virgil's fists. "Yeah, see, that's not how I do things." He snapped his wrist forward, firing a sharp bolt of lightning. The blast lit up the night, but she moved like flowing water, sidestepping so cleanly that the bolt scorched only the street behind her. She didn't even look rattled. Virgil narrowed his eyes. "Then I'm gonna make you answer my questions." His stance lowered, both hands glowing brighter as the saucer lifted him a few feet off the ground. Sparks snapped and hissed in the air. The ninja slowly turned back to face him. She raised her hands, settling into a low guard, weight shifting lightly on her toes. "Try it, then." "All right," Virgil muttered, squaring his shoulders. "Lady Ninja, you asked for it." He fired a quick bolt, testing her reflexes. The lightning ripped through the air with a crack like snapping glass. She tilted her head a fraction, letting the bolt sear past her cheek, and didn't flinch. The street behind her smoked where it struck. Virgil blinked. "You didn't even blink? Come on." Her smirk deepened beneath the mask. "Slow." That one word stung more than the missed shot. Virgil clenched his fists, sparks sparking brighter. "Okay, you asked for fast." He zipped forward on his saucer, darting low before popping up to send an electromagnetic pulse at her midsection. The surge exploded outward in a dazzling flare, rattling the chain-link fence around the lot. She leapt effortlessly, her body cutting a perfect arc over the blast and flipping once before landing silently behind him. Virgil spun, eyes wide. "What?" A palm strike drove into his ribs before he could finish. The blow knocked the air from his lungs and sent him staggering sideways on his saucer. He gritted his teeth, forcing himself steady. "Damn, you hit like a truck." She circled, hands loose, breathing calmly. "You're loud, predictable, power without control." "Oh, I've got control," Virgil shot back. He lifted both hands, crackling arcs jumping between his palms. "Check this." He clapped his hands together, releasing a thunderclap of raw energy. The shockwave slammed outward, tearing cracks in the pavement. This time, she didn't dodge completely. She let it catch her shoulder as she twisted aside. Her body skidded lightly over the ground, sandals scraping, before she reset into stance. The faintest scorch marked her sleeve. Virgil grinned. "Gotcha," but she just chuckled as she brushed her clothes. "Goo." Then she vanished. Virgil blinked. One moment she was in front of him, the next, behind. Her heel snapped into his back before he could turn, sending him lurching forward. He spun, trying to track her, but she was already moving again, slipping in and out of shadow like smoke. Every strike was precise. A jab to the shoulder, a sweep at his knee, a flick of her wrist against his temple. None were crippling, but each one stung and pushed him further off balance. "Yo, you playing tag or actually fighting me?" Virgil snapped, frustration bleeding into his tone. Sparks popped around his fists as he blocked a kick against his forearm. She leaned close, her voice a whisper against his ear. "I don't waste effort on children." Virgil's temper flared. He blasted a shockwave outward point blank, but she'd already ghosted back, letting the electricity ripple past harmlessly. "Gah!" He dragged his hand down his face. "Man, Richie is never gonna let me live this down if I get clowned by a ninja in pajama pants. She tilted her head, amused. You think jokes hide your fear? Virgil narrowed his eyes. Nah, they hide the fact I'm about to wreck you. He shot upward, riding his saucer higher into the night sky. From the vantage point, he raised both hands and called every volt he could gather. The air grew hot and dry, streetlights buzzing as his field expanded. Sparks danced wildly, until a miniature thundercloud seemed to form around him. Let's see you dodge this, he shouted. A storm of bolts rained down, sizzling across the asphalt, the fence, the rooftops nearby. The air cracked and glowed with the ferocity of a dozen lightning strikes. Poof! She dropped a smoke bomb, obstructing his view. When the smoke cleared, the street was scarred with blackened streaks, chunks of asphalt blown apart. But the ninja wasn't in the crater. Where the hell? A shadow dropped from above. She'd used the chaos and smoke to grapple herself to the light post. Her feet touched the top of the post as she shot straight at Virgil at an inhumane speed. Her kick smashed into his chest, knocking him clean off his saucer. Virgil hit the pavement hard, rolling until sparks caught under his palms and he slowed himself down. His ribs burned, his head rang. She landed lightly a few feet away, straightening as if she hadn't even exerted herself. Her voice was calm, taunting. Raw power. No discipline. Easy to manipulate. It would seem you didn't have a master to teach you how to control your power. Virgil pushed himself up, wiping blood from his lip. He glared at her. Lady, I don't care who trained you. You're in Dakota now, and this is MY turf. You don't get to walk in and clown me. He slammed his palms together, pulling every scrap of magnetic energy he could muster. Metal screamed as manhole covers ripped free from the street, pipes groaned in the ground, and even the chain link fence wrenched forward. The air became a storm of debris orbiting him, blades of jagged scrap metal floating like a spiked halo. Her eyes narrowed slightly. For the first time, she shifted her stance. Better. Yeah, Virgil growled. Now dodge this. He thrust his arms forward and unleashed a torrent of spinning debris laced with electricity. Steel shards and magnetized bolts flew like shrapnel, wrapped in crackling arcs. She moved, fast but not careless. Every dodge was precise. A backflip carried her over a rusted pipe. A twist of her arm redirected a manhole cover just wide of her ribs. She wove through the storm like water flowing downhill, never fighting harder than she had to. But even so, a bolt kissed her hip, burning through fabric. She hissed faintly, staggering for the first time. Virgil grinned through his exhaustion. Oh yeah, now we're cooking. Her smirk returned, sharper now. Don't get cocky. In the blink of an eye, she closed the distance. Virgil raised his electro field as her fist slammed into his gut. But for some reason, he couldn't maintain his power. The shield disappeared and he felt the pain. The wind whooshed from his lungs. She grabbed his jacket, spun, and hurled him across the street like he weighed nothing. He crashed into a parked car, the alarm blaring as sparks burst across the hood. Virgil groaned as his body twitched uselessly against the hood of the car. Sparks tried to leap off his palms, but they fizzled instantly, like damp matches. His muscles wouldn't respond. It was like his nerves had been unplugged. He couldn't move a damn thing except his mouth and his eyes. What did you do to me? He forced out in a hoarse voice. The ninja walked slowly and stopped just short of him and crouched, tilting her head. Then her hand rose, tugging at the edge of her mask. When it slid down, Virgil's breath caught for a whole different reason. Black hair spilled loose, framing a face too sharp and striking to belong to someone who had just knocked him senseless. Her eyes gleamed green, cold but alive with amusement. For a second, he forgot his ribs, his useless limbs, everything except how unfair it was that someone trying to kill him looked like she just stepped out of a magazine cover. It was fun, kiddo, she said softly, a mocking sweetness in her tone. Virgil swallowed, forcing words past his dry throat. Fun? Lady, you just turned me into a crash test dummy. Her lips quirked into the faintest smile. A little paralyzing poison. Nothing deadly. You'll be up in a few minutes. She leaned in, so close he could see the flecks of gold in her irises. Consider it a lesson. Virgil tried to laugh, but it came out more like a pained cough. Yeah? Lesson 1. Don't piss off a ninja in pajama pants. Her smile widened, though her eyes stayed icy. Clever mouth. You remind me of someone I used to know. She straightened, resting her hands lightly on her hips. Too bad you lack the discipline. Virgil grit his teeth. Don't tell me you want to teach me instead of body slamming me into Toyotas. Who the hell are you? The remark earned him a chuckle, a low, dangerous sound. She reached over her shoulder, drawing the short blade strapped across her back. Its steel caught the streetlight, gleaming cold. She lowered the tip until it pressed lightly against his throat. Her smirk was gone now. Her expression was that of a cold and emotionless killer. Name's Karai. Remember it. Next time, don't get in our way. Or else. She pushed the blade just enough to make him feel the cold bite of metal. You'll die a meaningless death. Virgil held her gaze, sweat pricking his forehead. Thanks for not stabbing me now. That looks dangerous. She sheathed the sword in one fluid motion, faster than a blink. Behind her, shadows rippled as the rest of the masked ninjas returned, dropping silently from the rooftops. They landed in formation, their bodies low and ready, but Karai raised one hand without looking back. Instantly, they stilled. Virgil struggled, groaning as he tried to push himself off the car. His arms jerked weakly, but they betrayed him, collapsing uselessly. Damn it! Karai crouched again, close enough that her hair brushed against his cheek. Relax. Like I said, the paralysis will fade. You'll be fine. Her whisper turned sly. But next time you might not be. He clenched his jaw, fighting to keep her from seeing the fear he felt in his chest. Next time I'll be ready. See that you are. She rose, her back to the moonlight now, casting her in a silhouette. Then she tossed something small at his chest. It clinked against his jacket and rolled into his lap. A throwing star. Virgil blinked down at it.
À souvenir.
Karai's eyes glinted. A warning. She flicked her wrist, dropping a smoke bomb at her feet. Thick gray mist exploded outward, swallowing the street in an instant. When it cleared, she and the ninjas were gone. Virgil coughed against the acrid haze, his throat dry. He tried again to push himself up, but his body still wouldn't answer. Only his jaw worked. Real smooth, Hawkins. Outclassed, outmatched, and all you got was a name and a ninja business card. The car alarm finally died, leaving the street eerily silent. He lay there, chest heaving, staring up at the flickering street lamp. His fingers twitched faintly, life creeping back into them. The paralysis was loosening its grip. Groaning, he rolled weakly to his side, clutching the shuriken Karai had left. Its edge glinted like her smirk had, dangerous and cold. Karai, he muttered. Lady, you better believe, I'm not letting you get away with this. Morning. JHM Pizza. The shop wasn't even open yet, but Harley was already bouncing through the dining area on a pogo stick she had somehow acquired. Boing, boing, boing. She sang, hair flying, boots clacking against the footpads. Rise and shine. Sleepyheads. Breakfast of champions is me on a pogo stick. Maureen sat at the counter with a mug of hot cocoa, eyes half-lidded. She looked like someone who had gotten 3 hours of sleep and regretted every life choice that led her here. Her spoon clinked against the cup as she stirred slowly. Harley, why? Why not? Harley shot back, springing higher. Her head nearly smacked the ceiling fan. Exercise, entertainment, and possible ceiling damage all in one package. John walked out of the back kitchen carrying a tray of fresh dough. He stopped dead at the sight, one eyebrow twitching. No. Harley grinned down at him mid-bounce. Yes. No pogo sticks in the shop, John said flatly. Especially not at 7 in the morning. Harley landed, wobbled, and steadied herself with a triumphant pose. Correction. This pogo stick is my new sidekick. I'm calling her Bouncy McBoom. Not happening, John muttered, setting the tray on the prep counter. Maureen sipped her cocoa. You know she's not going to stop until she breaks something, right? I heard that, Harley said as she bounced again, this time clearing a chair. And I am deeply offended by your lack of faith. I got balance. I got skills. I got bomb. She smacked into the door frame on her next jump, the pogo stick skidding out from under her. Harley flipped sideways and landed flat on her back with a loud thud. John pinched the bridge of his nose. Maureen calmly took another sip. Called it. Flat on the floor, Harley raised a finger in the air. Nobody saw that. It was a tactical fall. Very advanced. John walked over, lifted the pogo stick, and set it against the wall. This thing is gone by lunch. Harley groaned dramatically, sprawling like a starfish. You're killing my vibe, pizza man. First you ban glitter bombs in the oven, now my pogo career. What's next? No acrobatics in the freezer. Yes, John said without hesitation. Maureen smirked faintly into her cup. You're impossible, Harley. Impossible is my middle name, Harley said, sitting up and brushing herself off. She pointed to the pogo stick. And mark my words, Bouncy McBoom will rise again. John gave her a look that said he wasn't buying it. Not in my shop. The bell above the door jingled. A customer already wandering in, even though the sign still read closed. Harley's grin stretched wide. She leapt to her feet, spreading her arms. Welcome to the greatest pizza joint in Dakota. Please ignore the faint thud you might have just heard. That was totally not me testing the durability of the floor. The customer blinked, confused. John muttered under his breath. This is why I need stronger coffee. Noon. The lunch rush hadn't hit yet, which meant the shop had that lazy hum of ovens warming and faint music playing from a speaker in the corner. She was sitting behind the counter, spinning a pizza tray on one finger like it was a circus act, while Maureen handled the register with her usual quiet focus. John was in the back as usual. The bell above the door jingled and two familiar faces stepped in. Virgil Hawkins and Richie Foley. They were regulars. Boys, Harley sang, hopping onto the counter like it was a stage. Look who's back for another round of the finest cheesy masterpieces in all of Dakota. Richie grinned, pushing his glasses up. We keep coming back because you upsell us with enthusiasm. The pizza's just a bonus. Virgil smirked but didn't say much. His right arm was tucked in a cast, strapped neatly in a sling. Harley's eyes went wide. She leaned forward dramatically, her tray wobbling on her finger. Whoa, time out. V-Man, what happened to your arm? You get into a slap fight with a vending machine? Lose a thumb war with a car door? Virgil laughed awkwardly, rubbing the back of his neck with his good hand. Nah, nothing exciting. Just accident last night. Tripped, fell, tried to play hero to a trash can rolling in the street. Street 1. Harley squinted like she didn't buy it, then tapped her chin. That's a mighty suspicious story, Hawkins. You hiding some secret double life? Fighting crime in your spare time? Maybe? Virgil coughed, his smile stiffening. What? Nah, who'd want to do that? Sounds exhausting. Maureen glanced up from the register, studying him for a second longer than usual, but said nothing. Richie cut in quickly, waving at the menu board. We'll take a large pepperoni and garlic knots. And 2 sodas. Coming right up, Harley said, flipping off the counter with a gymnast's flair. She snagged a notepad, scribbled down the order, then leaned close to Virgil again. But for real, if anyone did this to you, point me in their direction. I got a pogo stick in the back and have no shame in using it. Virgil chuckled nervously. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Behind the counter, John slid a pizza into the oven and looked over. His eyes went to Virgil's cast, then back to the dough he was kneading. He said nothing, but his jaw tightened just enough for Harley to notice. She pointed at John. See? Even Stoneface over there cares. He's just too proud to say it out loud. John grunted. The order'll be ready in 10. Meanwhile, 2 blocks away from J&H&M Pizza, abandoned building, the windows of the crumbling warehouse shook as metal ground against metal inside. Sparks burst through broken panes. Specs and Trapper sat inside the cockpit of their newest invention, a towering mech patched together with scavenged steel and stolen tech. On paper, it was perfect. High-caliber plasma cannons mounted on the arms, reinforced hydraulic legs, a targeting system that could lock on to anything moving within 200 yards. In reality, it was not perfect. Specs, why is it moving on its own? Trapper shouted, gripping the seat as the mech lurched violently. I don't know. Specs hammered away at the console, his glasses sliding down his nose. It's the AI. I told you the code needed more time. The mech groaned as its head twisted unnaturally far, glowing eyes flaring red. It stomped forward, each step shaking the ground hard enough to send cracks spiderwebbing across the pavement outside. From the street, an old man with grocery bags looked up just in time to see a steel fist tear through the wall of the warehouse. He dropped his bags and ran as the mech ripped itself free from its hiding place, rubble crashing around it. The machine let out a distorted howl, its speakers blaring a screech that rattled glass all along the block. Inside the cockpit, Specs clutched the armrests. It's not listening to commands. Trapper slammed his fist against the control panel. You said this thing was going to make us unstoppable, not suicidal. The mech pivoted sharply and its arm cannon began to charge. The whine of building energy grew louder and louder until the first blast erupted, slicing through a row of parked cars and sending fire into the sky. There were a couple of cops patrolling the area. They began to shoot at the mech, but it was useless. Bullets won't do anything to a giant reinforced mech. So the cops kinda ran after firing the first round. 2 blocks away, the windows of J&H&M rattled from the explosion. Harley froze mid-sentence, blinking. Maureen's mug trembled on the counter. John's head lifted from the oven. Another boom shook the ground. Smoke started to rise over the rooftops nearby. Harley dropped her notepad. Okay. Either someone's setting off fireworks early or we've got a kaiju problem. Virgil's jaw tightened as he turned toward the window. His casted arm ached like a reminder of last night. Not again, he muttered. Maureen pushed off the counter, frowning. That's close. Too close. Another explosion rocked the street, louder this time. Pedestrians outside screamed and scattered as a plume of smoke rolled between the buildings. The mech's hulking frame finally came into view, towering above the rooftops, its glowing red eyes scanning the city like a predator searching for prey. Everyone got out of the building and looked up. Inside the cockpit, Specs was pale, typing frantically. If I can just override the subroutines, I can force a hard shutdown. Trapper gripped the console with white knuckles as the mech turned its cannons toward the pizza shop's block. Do it fast, Specs, or we're toast along with the rest of this dump. The mech raised its arm. Sparks flared. The whine built again. Harley's grin stretched wide. Guess the lunch rush is cancelled. Virgil and Richie slipped behind the shop, moving fast. Virgil gritted his teeth as he yanked the sling from his arm and opened his bag and quickly dressed up in his hero costume. The ache was still there, but he couldn't sit this one out. His saucer disc sparked to life, humming under his feet. Richie popped open his gear harness, metal plates unfolding into the compact jetpack and grappling rig. We stopped that thing before it turns the block into scrap, Richie said, his voice tight. Virgil nodded. Yeah. Let's go. Maureen stood near the front of the shop, her hands flexing, frost already creeping across the pavement. Her eyes locked on the mech as pedestrians ran past her. Harley cracked her knuckles, eyes shining with reckless excitement. Oh yeah, giant killer robot? That's my kinda Tuesday. She grabbed her glitter bomb satchel from the shop doorway and strapped it across her chest like it was armor. You do know that the glitter won't do any damage? Maureen asked. Yeah, I know, but I'm gonna blind it, and you turn it into a popsicle, Harley said with a large grin and a thumbs up. John slipped quietly out the back door. He moved fast, cutting down the alley and away from the group. The chaos and screaming covered his footsteps. He stopped in the shadow of a dumpster, looked at the sky, and muttered lowly, "Shazam!" Crackle. The lightning bolt split the clear air, crashing down onto him with a roar that shook windows. The golden blast of energy surged through his frame and was gone in an instant. Virgil and Richie had just lifted off when they saw it. The lightning forked again, this time spearing the mech's head. Boom! The machine let out a distorted metallic scream before the explosion ripped through its skull. Fire and shrapnel burst into the sky, raining down in molten fragments. What the? Virgil's eyes widened. Another bolt slammed into the mech's torso before it could topple. The explosion tore it in half. The street glowed orange from the inferno as the giant machine broke apart, collapsing in flaming chunks. A third lightning strike hammered the remains, blasting them into twisted slag. The mech was gone in seconds, reduced to smoldering debris. As for those two numbnuts who created them, before John could break their legs and hand them over to the cops, Eben's shadow popped up and swallowed them inside. DSK. This annoying bastard and his shadows. John cursed under his breath. Shazam! Crackle. Another lightning bolt struck the ground a few feet from where the mech was. Virgil and Richie hovered above the rooftops, speechless. That wasn't you, Richie said. Nope, Virgil answered, still staring at the smoke where the mech used to be. His voice was uneasy. That definitely wasn't me. Hello. Harley clapped wildly like she was at a fireworks show. Oh, did you see that? Boom. Kaboom. Zap. Talk about one-hit wonder. Maureen sighed in relief as she called back her cold energy, dissolving the frost around her. The crowd of civilians whispered nervously. Some pointed at the crater. Others scrambled to film with their phones, already chattering about lightning out of nowhere destroying a war machine. Virgil drifted lower on his saucer, scanning the streets, eyes narrowed. Someone else is out here. Someone powerful. Richie frowned. And they're not exactly subtle. John slipped back into the shop from the back door. Evening settled over Dakota, and the street where the mech had gone nuclear was still taped off. Flashing lights painted the smoke-stained buildings, while cleanup crews hauled twisted metal into trucks. The news vans had staked their territory too. People crowded the sidewalks just to point at the crater. 2 blocks away, J&H&M Pizza was quiet. Too quiet for Harley's taste. The attack had scared off half their usual customers, so the shop only had a couple of deliveries to show for the day. The ovens were cooling, the counter was wiped clean, and John was fixing the blinking light near the slushy machine. Out back, Harley had declared boredom the greatest enemy of mankind. Her solution, pogo stick drills. Boing, boing, boing. She chanted with every bounce, shooting up and down like a human jack-in-the-box. The back door creaked and Maureen stepped out with a garbage bag. She spotted Harley hopping and blinked slowly, like she was calculating whether this was worth commenting on. She heaved the trash into the dumpster and turned just as Harley zipped past her with a dramatic spin. See, this is how you fight depression, bad vibes, and gravity. Triple combo, Harley said with a large grin. Really now? That thing is dangerous, Maureen said, knowing very well that it was useless. Ah! Harley yelled, pointing dramatically mid-bounce. You, perfect student material. Come on, Mo. It's time you learn the sacred art of the pogo. Maureen folded her arms. No. Yes, Harley countered instantly. She pogoed in a circle around her. Think of it. You me boing boing sisters. A dynamic duo of bounce. A legacy in the making. I don't bounce, Maureen said flatly. You will, Harley declared. She landed with both boots on the ground and thrust the pogo stick toward Maureen like she was offering Excalibur. Take it. Feel the call of destiny. Maureen stared at it, unimpressed. It looks like a spring with handles. Exactly. The purest form of joy ever invented. Harley hopped onto it again to demonstrate. Observe. Step 1. Plant your feet. Step 2. Chant boing 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 to summon the ancient pogo gods. Step 3. Ascend to greatness. She launched herself a good foot off the ground, yelling boing with all the seriousness of a war cry. Maureen pinched the bridge of her nose. You sound insane. And yet, I'm having a blast, Harley said, still bouncing. Now come on. Your turn. I'll hold the stick for you. Reluctantly, Maureen set her hands on the pogo's grips. Harley clapped like a proud coach. There you go. All right, now plant your feet, straight posture. And remember the mantra. Maureen sighed. I'm not saying it. You have to. It's tradition.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Maureen gave her the iciest look she could manage. Then, in the flattest tone possible, she muttered, Boing. Louder. Harley cried. Boing. Maureen repeated a little sharper. Louder. Feel the spirit of the spring. Boing. Maureen snapped, shoving herself up on the pogo stick. The spring fired, and for one glorious second, she bounced almost gracefully into the air. Then she tilted sideways and crashed into Harley, both of them collapsing in a heap. From the doorway, John leaned against the frame with his usual scowl. Do I even want to know? Harley shot a thumbs up from the ground. Maureen sprawled next to her. Training montage, Harley wheezed. We're killing it. Maureen groaned. I'm never touching that thing again. Yes, you are, Harley said cheerfully, rolling to her feet. She dusted herself off and struck a pose with the pogo stick raised overhead. This is only the beginning, partner. Tomorrow we are going higher. John just turned and went back inside without a word. Che, I want to jump too, but this goes against my broody character, and Harley will never stop making fun of me. Crap. Maybe I'll sneak out at night and have some fun. Maureen sat up, hair a mess, glaring at Harley. If you say boing one more time. Boing, Harley whispered dramatically, grinning ear to ear. Meanwhile, the outskirts of Dakota were quiet except for the hum of 6 trucks tearing down a cracked highway. Each one was armored, with reinforced plates welded crudely onto the sides, and Foot Clan ninjas perched on top and clinging to the sides like shadows. Their red insignias flashed in the moonlight whenever the trucks hit a bump. On a rooftop a block away, the green shapes crouched low. The turtles stayed hidden, eyes locked on the convoy. Donnie adjusted his goggles, lenses glowing faint purple as the scan completed. Numbers flickered across the display. Not good. Each of those trucks is loaded with mutagen canisters and enough explosives to level a city block. If they make it downtown, he trailed off, his jaw tightening. Leo's eyes sharpened. We stop them here. Raph grunted, gripping his sai tighter. Hold up. What about Master Splinter? Those trucks could lead us straight to Shredder. We waste time fighting these guys, and he slips further away. Leo didn't waver. I haven't forgotten about Master, but if this much mutagen and firepower gets into the city, people will die. We can't risk it. Mikey leaned forward, whispering, So, Plan A is smash trucks, beat ninjas, save the day. Plan B is... We don't have a Plan B, do we? Donnie sighed. Plan B is hoping none of those canisters crack open while we fight on top of moving trucks. Awesome, Mikey said, already spinning his nunchaku. Raph shook his head, frustrated. Leo, I'm telling you, if we follow them, we get answers. Shredder's out there and we need the cure, fast. Every second we waste. Leo turned to him, voice calm but firm. And every second we argue, those trucks get closer to the city. We take them down, then we make them talk. That's how we find Shredder. Raph stared at him for a tense moment, then finally grunted, "Fine, but if this doesn't get us anywhere, that's on you." Leo gave a sharp nod. "Positions. We hit them fast, we hit them hard, and we keep those canisters intact. Let's move." The turtles rose from the shadows, ready to leap into the convoy below. Donnie slipped a small device from his belt and snapped it open. Purple lights pulsed along its edges as it activated. "Comm jammers are up. No distre signals, no backup. It's just them and us." Leo didn't hesitate. "Go!" The four brothers dropped from the rooftop in unison. They hit the convoy like thunder, each one targeting a different truck. Leo landed clean on the lead vehicle, his katanas flashing as he sliced through the roof. The driver jerked in surprise, but a single kick sent him crashing against the door. Leo flipped in and wrenched the wheel and slammed the brakes, skidding the truck sideways across the highway. Behind him, Raph hit the second truck like a cannonball. His sai speared through the windshield, forcing the driver to swerve. Raph ripped the door off with raw strength, yanked the man out by the collar, and tossed him onto the road, then got inside and slammed the brakes. The truck fishtailed before screeching to a halt. Mikey spun through the air and landed on the third truck. "Cowabunga!" His nunchaku lashed out, cracking against the driver's head before the man even reached for his blade. Mikey slid into the seat, laughing as he mashed the brake. "I always wanted to drive one of these." Donnie was more precise. He used his staff as a pole vault to land neatly on the fourth vehicle. He jammed his bow through the window, flicked the driver unconscious with a single strike, then climbed inside. His fingers flew over the controls, shutting the engine down before it could jackknife into the others. They did the same with the other two trucks. Screech after screech filled the highway until all 6 trucks were forced to a grinding stop. The Foot Clan moved fast. Dozens of ninjas leapt from the truck beds and rooftops, blades flashing in the moonlight. They poured toward the turtles in a swarm of red and black. Leo raised his swords. "Keep the fight away from the canisters. We can't let one of those break." The first wave hit. "Bring it on!" Raph roared, swinging his sai like short spears, stabbing one ninja's weapon aside before ramming his shell into another and sending him flying into the dirt. Mikey spun in circles, his nunchaku a blur of wood and chain. He cracked one foot soldier across the jaw, then flipped backward to kick another in the chest. Truck fight, Ninja Edition. Who's got the popcorn? Donnie used precision strikes, his bow staff clanging against steel and skull alike. He swept 2 ninjas off their feet in one smooth motion, then vaulted over a third to strike him down from behind. 3 down. Leo's blades flashed as he parried and disarmed, each movement measured to keep the fight controlled. He slashed through a ninja's polearm, spun, and elbowed another square in the mask. The highway turned into chaos. Sparks flew as steel clashed with steel. Ninjas flipped from the truck roofs to rain down on the brothers, only to be met with spinning shells and snapping weapons. The turtles held the line, keeping the battle tight but never letting it creep too close to the trucks. Still, the Foot Clan pressed harder, their numbers endless. Ralph quickly dashed toward the trucks, piercing the tires to prevent the Foot Clan from running away. Then he joined the fight again. Donnie slammed his staff into the ground and activated a pulse from his gauntlet. A wave of purple energy knocked back the nearest ninjas, giving him a brief window. "Leo, there are too many. We need to thin them faster." Leo's eyes narrowed. "All right."
Shell shock formation.
And that concludes this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd seriously love it if you guys could leave a like on the video, as it genuinely helps out so much, and it keeps me going. Plus, it takes only 1 second. That said, have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.